With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
For tonight, it's truly a tale of two utterly different circuits. For the GT4 LMP3 series, it's Donington Park, a tight, fast club-style layout with very few places to overtake, but plenty of places to get it wrong. And for the GTPs and LMP2s, it's a trip to the legendary Temple of Speed itself in the form of Monza. With long straights, heavy braking zones, it may appear easy, but rest assured, the Italian park is anything but. Hello everyone and welcome to the PRL Monday Night Series brought to you here live on RaceSpotTV. My name is DJ Clark, delighted to be back in the commentary booth alongside Joey Tebben with our director and producer Dustin Ollis working behind the scenes. And Joey, first things first, it's Donington on the national layout no less, which means no Foster's hairpin, and I honestly can't think of a more challenging combination than putting a multi-class race here at this circuit.
I have been looking forward to this round all season long, DJ, because it is a short lap time. You go to the normal Donington Park layout and you have to deal with those tight chicanes, which are good passing opportunities, but on the national layout, it's had a little bit of an appendectomy. We've cut off the hairpins, lap times are sub 1 minute, and we've got two classes going around with LMP3 and GT4. It's going to be absolute craziness. It's going to be the craziest race of the season. Things have already looked crazy enough in practice, and I'm going to say crazy a couple more times in the next half hour.
Well, we'll keep you to that, maybe get a crazy count going for you here as we take a look at the schedule here for the LMP3-GT4 series. Next up, it's going to be Zandvoort, another interesting layout, albeit with the new F1 configuration that's recently been added to iRacing. And then we end things out at Interlagos, and as this weekend proved, always a spectacular place for racing, so that's going to be a good way to end the season.
It's going to be a great place to end the season, but these are crunch times in these last 3 weeks. Sean Campbell at LMP3's won every single race so far this season. If you want to beat him, if you want to make sure he doesn't get his second undefeated season in the PRL, you've got to win in these next 3 races, and I have a feeling that this may be the place to do it.
Well, the drivers that are hopefully able to do that are going to be Brockway and Bergstrom. That battle for P2 very, very close. Another good battle there for P5 with Joey Morissette and Corey Precker. Also, Wesley Griffith in that conversation as well. And look back to the 9th place battle with Sean Mulholland and Ian Starker. Very close battles here. We'll be keeping you abreast of those over the course of today's race. We take a look at the team standings. Moradness M Squad Ginger liveries leading the way by about 114 points. They've got a pretty healthy gap over YS Motorsports, but a good battle there with Throttle Thursdays. As we look back a little farther through the field, another good battle for 5th, Vulture Motorsports and Marshmallow Racing, as well as Mojim Team Racing, MRT, and Moradness M Squad Oceana Coffee. Those are some good ones to keep an eye on. Let's go ahead and take a look, though, at those GT4 standings. A little bit closer up at the top as Alexis Moisan leads by only 10 points over Graham Wildman there, and then about 10 points back to Guarnieri. That's going to be a battle to keep an eye on. Don't count out Mello as well from that conversation. Gerard Farewell keeping things interesting. This is a very close championship up and down there, Joey.
And a critical thing to notice is that Alexis Moisen's worst week, was week 3 at Phillip Island. When he lost that race to Graham Wildman, he got 15 penalty points for that race. That's taken his lead down by 15 points. And also, he can't drop that week, because if you get penalty points in a race, you can't drop that race. So things are a lot closer than they really should be. Alexis Moisen's been basically untouchable at most times this season, but if he does get into one more error, in an especially pressure-packed race like today, suddenly that championship that looked like it was his for the taking could be even more wide open. Wildman could still stick in there.
Very well could. And the battle manufacturers there, obviously, to keep an eye on between Porsche and McLaren. Let's also look at the team standings here, though, for the GT4 field. Scuderia Burb, Twin Turn Racing, they lead the way over Sart Racing. Blue Chip Racing still in that conversation as well. Soy Boys Racing finds themselves in 4th, about 50 points ahead of Big Fast Racing. Then a big gap back to Road ATL Racing. They've got about 16 points over Gorman Motorsports, Tim Hypersport Racing, and YS Sim Sports there competing for P8. And that's going to round out that part of business that we've got to take care of here today, but we do have a little bit more to take care of in the form of our many sponsors. First and foremost, it's Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on all ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Thanks as well go to Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver, competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. Another one of our longtime sponsors here is Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Thanks as well have to go to Muradness, which is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit muradness.com. And finally, thanks go to Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply your worst moments of your hobby in up to 8K resolution. It's a great addition to any sim racing room. Well, Joey, it's an old adage here, but qualifying, I think, is going to be pretty important around this circuit. It'd be pretty important if we were just out racing in normal racing conditions in a single-class series. But with the multi-class action, I think the more you are able to get out in front, the more time you're able to buy between yourself and your competitors, it's just going to make you feel safer every single lap you're able to put in.
Yeah, when you're leading the train in LMP3, if you are Sean Campbell at the head of the field and you're the first driver to reach lap traffic, your life's a little bit easier. You can kind of choose your battles. You can choose where to go. You don't have to worry about also making a pass in traffic. But it's going to be absolute chaos here. You see that lap time for Sean Campbell, 59.6, sub 1 minute lap times, 10 seconds faster than GT4. Do some simple math there. That's every single 6 laps. LMP3 traffic is going to be reaching GT4 traffic. That's going to be 5 or 6 traffic interactions over the course of the race. Track position is important, but it's going to be calamity for the full 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be absolute calamity. And let's remember here, I mean, we kind of mentioned off of the top that this is a club-style circuit as we watch Gary Kerner crossing over the line. They're able to improve with a 111.168. That'll get him up into 28th position. But this isn't like Interlagos or even like Zandvoort that we head to next, which has some wide portions of the track. This is a narrow track all the way through, especially this back half of it, going through Craner Curves, the old hairpin, and down through Starkey's Bridge.
Yeah, you're going to be in pain if you catch GT4 traffic at the wrong time if you are in one of those prototypes, because there's high-speed corners where the downforce of the LMP3 cars are going to really come into effect. It's going to be very important. But say if you catch traffic coming down the hill into the old hairpin, that's going to be a problem spot. If you catch traffic up here, up over the top of the hill, that's going to be a trouble spot. There's basically no solace. You're going to have to hope and wait for this short straight here and the short start-finish straight as well if you're going to want to make those moves. It's going to be so difficult. It's almost going to be like a multi-class oval race in terms of actually making position. Jerry Turner, who we ride on board with, though, he's going for one more lap here, I think. It is solo qualifying because there are multi-classes, but he's going to get one more shot to the line here. I'm interested to see if he can improve. Looks like he is by about 3/10. How about that for the guy who isn't the Golden Bachelor?
Yeah, there he goes up into 27th position. We've got about 15 seconds left to go here in qualifying. I think that's actually about going to do it for us here. But the question I've got to ask you before we go to the grid, Joey, is it going to be patience or is it going to be aggressiveness that pays off when it comes to dealing with traffic?
I mean, that's the question. Is survival going to be important, or is making yourself the survivor by pushing other people out of the way going to be important? I think you're going to have to do a little bit of both. You're going to have to be aggressive, you're going to have to get by traffic early, but you're also going to have to survive the full race distance.
All right, well, we'll see if that prediction proves true here as we run you through your starting grid. Starting off in the LMP3 field, it's Sean Campbell, as he has done so many times, leading the way over Adam Brockway. Jason Drescher and Joey Morissette going to line up in row 2. Row 3 will be Nicholas Karangis, followed by Corey Precker. Great result there for Corey in P6. Ian Starker lines up P7, followed by Greg Doucette, with Matt Dinsmore and Wesley Griffith to round out your top 10. Ariel Rexoy is in 11th, followed by Michael Kulaga, and the last two drivers in your LMP3 field will be Sean Mulholland and Russell Peterson. Let's move you on back into the GT4 field. It's Alexis Moisan in his Porsche 718 Cayman that's going to lead the way over Mello there in the number 19 machine. Andrew Sharp lines up in P3, followed by Cade Smith. Then it's Augustine Guarnieri in P5. And the wild man, Graham Wildman himself, in P6 in the highest placed McLaren. Nathan Jennings lines up P7, followed by Jean-Sebastien Bedard. Then it's Travis Pruitt and Matthew Aloka in P10. Joshua Reed lines up in 11th, followed by Will Jennings in 12th. As we move back through the field, it's Jerry Turner. We saw him able to put some good times down on the board. Then it's Kenny Gorman in P14. Matthew Serwick lines up 15th. Alongside him will be Dan Gorman, and Dron Farewell leads the back of the field around here in his Mercedes AMG. A good smattering of cars up in that GT4 category here at this point, as we do have a short pace lap. And with track temperatures here at only 78 degrees Fahrenheit, there's going to be a lot of weaving here, I've got to imagine, to get these cars up to temperature.
Yeah, you got a couple hundred feet to get all the heat into the tires here. Sean Campbell might be on pole right now. You might think he's comfortable, but he was not comfortable in practice. He was third on the timing sheets, behind Drescher, behind Brockway. Brockway was only 76 thousandths off him in qualifying. This is the most treacherous Sean Campbell has looked all season. This is the most in danger he's been. This could be the day where his winless or his undefeated season finally comes undone.
Well, here he comes, Brockway down to what is the inside there of Robert Chicane as the pace car pulls off down pit lane, giving control of the field over to Sean Campbell. All eyes go to Barney the Flagman as there goes the green, and we are racing here in Donington. Good getaway from Campbell. Drescher's going to follow him on through. It's a dismal getaway there for Brockway, who's going to find himself under a little bit of pressure from Joey Morissette as the GT4 field works their way on through here at this point. It's a brilliant getaway from Moisan.
And the GT4 guys got the green flag a couple corners early, because when the green flag flies for LMP3, the green flag flies for GT4. That was good news for Moisan, and it's good news for just about everybody else as they kind of stratified out a little bit into turn 1. They're not stratified out here, though. Ian Starker was fast in practice. He's side by side with Corey Precker up over the top of the hill. It's cold tires. Got to keep the wheels under you in these opening laps.
Yeah, Precker fighting against the camber there at that point, and this side-by-side battle has led to a big layout farther back in the field. Car around farther in the back. I believe that's Michael Kulaga.
Yep, I think he just clipped that little dried patch of grass on the outside. You especially don't want to do that with the understeer on cold tires. It'll instantly loop you around. He's already to the back of the field, but it's early. He's got plenty of time to come back from it.
Loka here has also had it off the McLaren driver in the number 45 for Scuderia Burr, but that exact same position, just that little bit of dried grass getting caught out here.
Well, it's such a fast corner, and it's so difficult to find the line there. But here's Graham Wildman going for a dive into the chicane. He is aggressive early, and he's already up into P6. That was aggressive stuff, and there's even more aggressive stuff through turn 1. Matt Dinsmore is the next driver to loop it around, again, likely after clipping the grass.
Yep, and that's what it is. That's the narrow margins here that we talked about as we check farther in the field. This is Cade Smith and Andrew Sharp. Oh, and there goes the 41 of Cade Smith around. Just a little bit too much pressure on that throttle pedal, and that spins the Pepsi machine right round the wrong way.
Remember how I said we were going to have calamity and traffic interactions? We haven't even had the first traffic interaction yet. These are just guys racing on their own. That's how tough this track is. High-speed corners all the way around. Tires that are still barely warmed up because we've only been racing for about 2 minutes, even though we're on lap 3. It's so hard out there right now. This is the greatest challenge of the season so far, and it's not over. Here comes Guarnieri up into Coppice.
Looking down to the inside there of Andrew Sharp. This is the battle for P3 at the moment as Sean Campbell sets the fastest lap in the LMP3 field here at this point. Looks like Guarnieri's got a really good run coming down Starkey Straight and into Roberts. He's going to think about that move. We saw Wildman do it, and now here goes Augustin down to the inside, gets the car woed up. Brilliant stuff there from the 74.
Good stuff there. He was so much later on the brakes that it didn't really look like he was going to make the corner, but I think that was more of a case of Andrew Sharp just backing off a little bit, knowing the move was coming and saying, you know what, I'm going to be a smart guy here. I'm going to be a sharp guy. I'm going to back off. I'm going to get back in line, and I'm going to let Guarnieri lead the way here because Augustin Guarnieri was actually the fastest GT4 driver in practice. He's definitely got some race speed, even if he doesn't quite have the qualifying speed. He's looking forward to his teammate now, and Andrew Sharp is hoping he can be dragged forward.
Yeah, hoping he'd be dragged forward, but the only problem is he's got Graham Wildman there directly behind him. We've already seen Graham's willingness to be aggressive down into that Robert chicane, and now that he's going to be dealing with a little bit of with a little bit of different car kind of battles here at this point, I wonder if that McLaren that we know is pretty good in a straight line is going to have a little bit of an advantage going down Starkey Straight.
Definitely hoping he can use the straight line here. He's repping the home manufacturer, Woking not too far from Donington, if my British geography is correct, which it probably isn't, but Graham's been very aggressive early. He's been very fast. I think he had a mediocre qualifying, but qualifying doesn't necessarily spell race pace. It may be two different things. He only had 4 laps to nail it. That's only 4 minutes with only 1 minute long lap times. In a race, you do have more opportunity to really get a rhythm going. We haven't looked at LMP3 for a while, so they calmed down for just a moment. Now the second we look back at them, they've decided to go crazy again. And our buddy RaceSpotTV behind is just a cloud of cars side by side maintaining now.
Yeah, it's going to be Wesley Sean Mulholland decided now a little bit of a change down start straight there. Maybe keep it together and keep it the right way. And now here comes some into red. It's going to be the latest of the late breakers. Rexoy with a good line, but he gets a little bit of a putt there from Sean Mulholland. I think there may have been contact, and I'll tell you what, Wesley Griffith says thank you very much. I'll take that position right back.
I don't think there was contact. I think that was just our old buddy Aero Rexoy going a little bit Super Saiyan. He said, "I'm going to make this move 3 wide through the middle. I'm going to go for it. Oh wait, I actually have to slow the car down for turn 1. Didn't quite work out the way he wanted, but I applaud the effort."
I applaud the effort as well, as now maximum effort having to be applied here by the likes of Campbell, Drescher, and Brockway as they've already caught up to lap traffic. Oh, is that a GT4 thinking about trying to make a move down to the inside of an LMP3? Little bit of a squiggle there for Sean Campbell as he gets onto the power and tries to get through this gaggle of GT4s.
And Jason Drescher had a much better time through traffic. You're going to be seeing this all day long. If you catch GT4 traffic through that chicane, you've basically just got to check up and wait to get through because you just can't send a move through there. You can't get that aggressive. Andrew Sharp has come off pretty bad from traffic up ahead. He's lost the spot to Wildman. As here we go, Morissette's having the toughest time of it all, getting through down the hill and into the old hairpin. These are the corners where you just can't make the pass. You just have to wait for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's Dan Gorman. He's trying to get around right now, trying to be as aggressive as possible, but we've got a little bit of a battle for the lead here. Sean Campbell, Jason Drescher, and don't count out Adam Brockway. 1, 2, 3.
Up over the hill, Jason Drescher has a smell of the lead for the first time all season. He's had some good races, he's had some podiums, but he can see the unbeatable guy, one of the best drivers in PRL history, and that would be so good for Jason Drescher to get his first win in a manner like this, to beat a guy like Sean Campbell. Not able to make the move that time, but he did get a look at it, and he's going to have plenty more opportunities in the next 28 minutes to go for it.
And I got to tell you what here, I got to agree with what you were saying earlier. This is the first time I've seen Campbell look a little bit under pressure. Not only does he have these cars coming directly behind him, but notice how much curb he took there through the Robert chicane. That LMP3 not looking entirely settled here at this point. He looks like he's fighting it.
Well, he just caught Andrew Sharp there, got really held up through the old hairpin. He's in very big danger. Starker and one of the Throttle Thursday cars side by side coming into the aforementioned old hairpin, and that's going to be Starker off the road. Gets time to recover it. There is just grass and gravel out there that allows you to throw it back on the track, but big mistake for him. And Aero Rexoy, we saw his heroics into turn 1 earlier. That was the opposite.
Well, we'll see if we can spool up a replay of that, as I dare say that that number 63 LMP3 may be out of it here for the moment, because there was some pretty hefty damage to the front clip of that machine. Meanwhile, Campbell's been able to grow a little bit of a gap on that last go-around here at this point, and now he's got about 0.5 of a second advantage over Jason Drescher. This is on board with your Rexoid. Let's see what happened coming down into turn 1. Tries to thread the needle, goes down into the braking zone around the 41, catches him the wrong way. Just spun around there. Does he get a little bit of front contact? That's exactly what it was.
Oh, no. That was really weird in the first place, though. He caught Cade Smith in such a weird part of the corner. Didn't expect him to be that slow. And then, yeah, it was his teammate Michael Kulaga who came onto the scene. Matt Dinsmore was on the scene as well. Just not a good day to be an LMP3 car at the back of the field there. All three of those drivers I just mentioned back into the pits with heavy, heavy damage. The field is thinned. That's good for GT4 traffic. That means there's less prototypes coming around trying to knock them off the road, but there's still 10 of them still out there.
Yeah, still plenty of driver down on track to make things interesting and spicy. As we take a look here a little bit farther back into that GT4 field here at this point. They were side by side here a little bit farther back. I believe that's Cade Smith and Jerry Turner as they come around right now. Turner trying to be able to put on the afterburners to catch up to the back here of Smith, as we've got that live look, and you can see just how far around those LMP3s are. Remember, they've already passed through this field once already.
Yeah, we get to calm down for just a second. We have a little bit of separation. It's the natural order of the world, and then give it about 4 or 5 more laps, and then we're going to have exactly the same chaos we saw that one time before. There's an overcooking of the chicane for Dan Gorman, and that's going to let Andrew Reed peek to his outside. Not even a peek to his outside. He's going to open the door, and he's going to fly through and easily get that spot from Dan, who I think is still serving a slowdown for being on the inside of that curb through the chicane. He served it now, but you have to make sure not to cut that. It's a big slowdown.
Yeah, it's a very big slowdown as we check back in on the battle now for P2 in LMP3. Drescher and Brockway fighting it out here at this point. Brockway, remember, had that bad start off of the green flag, found himself swallowed up by Jason Drescher, and now he's trying to put on the afterburners here at this point to try to catch back in. Looks like Drescher is just managing this gap, but as I say that, Brockway puts in the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, Brockway has been ridiculously fast here, but it's going to be so hard to make the move. It's going to be so hard to get by Drescher because he's been so fast himself. They both just kind of need to ride in line and wait until they reach traffic again, hope that Campbell gets held up, and hope that that's going to be the way they get back into the fight for the win, because it's all about the win. It's not about second, it's not about third, it's about beating Sean Campbell to this win. For some of these guys who are still out here at the back of the field, for Precker, for Griffith, for Mulholland, they just want every spot, and there is Brockway through. Right as I say that, that's an easy move for him.
That's an easy move for him, and with the speed he's been able to put down here, I wonder if he's going to be able to bring that 1.7 second gap to Campbell back down again here as they run. And I've got to think here, Joey, that if I'm Jason Drescher, I'm probably going to let Brockway run up into the lead here and just try to hold on to the coattails.
I mean, that is possible. That's what I would have thought if I was Jason Drescher in second, but he didn't seem to have the pace to actually close the gap to Campbell. Brockway has been setting fastest lap after fastest lap, so it may be worthwhile to let him go. But if Brockway makes a mistake like I think Drescher did in the previous lap and opens that door back up, that's going to make Sean Campbell a very happy boy, because he's got 2 very hungry drivers behind him right now. If they start fighting with each other, he's going to have nobody behind him within 2 seconds. So he wants them to start fighting and not think about him, but they both do need to be thinking about Sean Campbell and think about looking forward as they reach traffic again.
Yeah, and that's going to be the number 45 there of Matthew Aloka that Campbell's going to have to try to finagle his way around here at this point, being held up just a little bit. It looks like Brockway's able to move his way around Aloka. Dan Gorman, also the other one that they've been able to get on past, and here comes that problem that you mentioned earlier. As Gorman does a great job of trying to get out of the way, but it still cost Brockway a couple of tenths of time.
And Drescher got absolutely screwed there, caught Gorman at just the wrong moment, and right as that happens, Gorman actually pulls down pit lane. He's going to be the first driver to kick off the pit cycle in GT4, but Campbell was fine through the final chicane. Didn't get held up. Brockway did get held up a little bit. Drescher got held up the most. That's just how the traffic giveth, the traffic taketh away, and it could all be the other way around next time they catch some stuff, or if they catch a battle side by side like this, which is also very possible.
Yeah, and that's Kate Smith and Kenny Gorman. Remember, we talked about that battle a little bit earlier on. That is Mercedes-AMG versus Porsche here at this point, and they're going to be caught here very shortly by some of those LMP3s as they come up from behind. This is the battle for P10, and I believe that's your leader, Sean Campbell, making his way on through the gap. Already 3 seconds. He is just slicing and dicing his way through traffic.
Yeah, Brockway got absolutely destroyed behind a couple of cars and has lost 2 seconds over the space of 1 lap. Campbell got held up a little bit through the chicane that time, but it's only cost him 0.8 of a second. He's still got a 3-second gap over these two. It was looking so uncomfortable for him. They were side by side for the lead at one point a couple of minutes ago, and the traffic has just all gone Sean Campbell's way. Is that just multi-class experience helping him out? Is that a little bit of luck? It may be a mix of both, but he's looking pretty good right now. There's still 22 minutes to go, though, and anything can happen, and all that can change.
Well, the other thing that we have to remember in terms of Campbell is if he's got a little bit of breathing room here at this point, this may be a situation where he is going to be able to back off a little bit, save some fuel, as we know he is wont to do many a time here over the course of the running. We've seen him be able to do that, maximize on the pit stops. If he is able to save fuel, this could be the nail in the coffin here for Adam Brockway, but that's counting our chickens far too early. We still have 22 minutes left to run in this race, and if Jason Drescher and Adam Brockway have anything to say about it, they're going to try to close in on the back at the 26.
And also Sean's life has gotten a lot easier here as the GT4 field has almost completely separated out. There's very few actual battles. It's not like at the start of the race when everybody was packed together. You're just catching one car at a time. You're catching one piece of traffic at a time. It's essentially an extra chicane, and that can hold you up a bit. It can hold you up a lot even, but getting stuck behind one single car isn't going to lose you 3 seconds of a lead unless you get taken out. So it's much easier when you're navigating stratified traffic like this, and you just have to hope that you don't catch these two guys who are soon to be battling side by side.
Yeah, this is Nathan Jennings and Andrew Sharp right now, and this is exactly who they're catching. Ooh, that was a little bit of a bad run off of the corner there. I think what happened is Andrew Sharp wanted to move down into the inside, give Campbell the space, and Campbell was going to take that sort of alternate racing line. And this, frankly, goes into what you have to do as a slower class car, Joey. The natural instinct for these drivers is, oh, I'm going to get out of the way, I'm going to be courteous and give space to this battle. That's the last thing you want to do. Oh, there's a big off for Nathan Jennings. He's going to be able to control it. And, oh, that could have ended very rough. But as I was saying, you think you want to get out of the way and let these faster class cars run the traditional racing line. That's not what you want to do. You want to be on the racing line. You want to be predictable.
That's exactly the word. You want to be predictable. It is up to the prototypes to find a way by. It is up to them to make the new Donington. GT4 traffic, they're running the same track that they'd be running otherwise. The LMP3s are in charge of making their own track and getting by in any way they can. But what I was saying about the traffic giving and the traffic taking away, you just saw it in that one instance. Campbell lost 1.5 seconds stuck behind these two guys. And look at the lead he still has. It was still up to 2.5 seconds. It's now down to 1.5 seconds as Brockway has closed it down a little bit, but it's giving and taking away, and Campbell's still very much in control at the front.
Well, as we continue to watch this battle, I've got to say here with Sharp and Jennings, Sharp is being very conscientious, kind of giving room here, giving space as they go through the field, and it looks like it's hurting him. It's really giving Nathan Jennings here, rather, a chance to be able to scamper away a little bit, and now we see Sharp coming down into pit lane a little bit earlier than I would normally think, especially for the GT4s, but I think he just wants to get out of the way here, maybe find himself a little bit of clean air.
Yeah, he was struggling behind Jennings. He really should have been able to make the move, but he was just stuck behind him for the longest time. Jennings was making all sorts of mistakes, and he wasn't able to capitalize because he was catching him at all the worst times. And it's only been a negative for Andrew Sharp. Started third, looked to be on course for maybe his best race result of the season, and it's only fallen apart. So he said, I'm going off strategy. I'm taking a pit stop, though we still do have to do here. You might forget there's a pit stop with all the calamity, but you do have to make a pit stop. And he's going to try and make it work on strategy and hope to find some clean air to get by Jennings once he comes down pit lane in a couple laps' time.
Yeah, that's going to be the strategy here at this point. We check back with Adam Brockway, and look at that gap here at this point, folks. It's down to 1.1 seconds, and that has been taken out largely on the past 3 laps here, as Brockway is the first driver, I believe, to set a sub-1 minute time here in the race. So Brockway's putting on the jets here at this point. He's been able to take, let's call it 2.2 seconds out of Campbell over the last 3 laps alone.
And he's done a very good job now that this gap is closed down, but don't let that 1 next to the number distract you, because I think Sean is still very much in control right now. Brockway has been very fast at a lot of times this season. He's been on pole twice ahead of Campbell, but when it comes to fuel saving, when it comes to strategy, every single time, Sean has had the upper hand, Sean has had the shorter stops, and Sean has had the race lead after that pit stop comes around, and I have to imagine that's probably going to be the way things go here. So what Brockway needs to do is he needs to force Campbell into a mistake on track. He needs to make the move on track. That's the way he's going to get by, because if he comes into the pits behind Sean, he can basically kiss the race win goodbye unless something goes wrong. He needs to get ahead of him on track.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there about that. It looks like, though, on that last lap, he pretty much matched his best lap time only by about hundredths of a second. Was he off? Campbell, meanwhile, able to put down his personal best of a 1 minute flat 1. But still, that's not going to be enough. And now here comes some more traffic in the form of Andrew Sharp, who, remember, has come down into pit lane. Dan Gorman is Campbell starting to be very aggressive here to get around everybody. Brockway's going to have to try to do the same thing, but he's got 2 wide in front of him. He's got nothing to do.
And Brockway's going to be saying some unbroadcastable words right now, because Sean did a great job of sending it 3 wide, caught that traffic at just the right moment, and Brockway got caught behind him as they were fighting side by side. That's just how things go sometimes. He's gonna be so mad that it didn't go his way, but it will go his way eventually. He will get a little bit of help at some point. He's not gonna get help through the final chicane though, because again, he's gonna catch Jerry Turner. He's gonna lose another 0.2, and he's almost 2 seconds behind Sean Campbell now with just a couple of traffic interactions. He's got to start thinking about pitting soon, I think. If he can find a bit of clean air on track, if he can find a bubble that doesn't have any GT4 traffic in it, he might think about pulling an undercut and finding some clean air, but that depends on that actually existing on track.
Exactly. Let's go ahead and give some love here back down to the GT4 field. We haven't talked about them in a hot minute. This is the battle for P2 right now between Mello and Guarnieri. Guarnieri having a great race here, up 5 since the drop of the green flag. Now, some of that has to do with some of the LMP3s that have retired in front of him. But nevertheless, Guarnieri really putting on a good display here, trying to put pressure to the back of his fellow Mercedes-AMG driver right now, and putting in some good laps to try to see if he can take this position away.
Guarnieri's had some incredible race pace here. It's just a shame that it's kind of extended itself so much that Alexis Moisan's been able to hold on to the lead. If Guarnieri qualified 2nd or even 3rd, I feel like he might be more in contention in this race, but he spent so much time trying to make moves. He spent so much time stuck behind other drivers like he is now, that the race win is basically only going to be in the conversation if there's trouble for Moisan up ahead, which is very possible. Could get into trouble with an LMP3, could throw it off the road as he's done a couple times this season. But right now it's going to be SART versus SART, and there's a huge drift from Guarnieri. That shows you how hard he's pushing for just this spot.
Well, and now I wonder, with that SART team right now, if there's going to be a little bit of conversation in between the two about maybe trying to play some team tactics to catch up to Moisan. Well, there's tactics coming in here at the moment, as both Joaquin Mello and Agustin Guarnieri both coming down into pit lane together.
Yeah, I think their optimal team tactic is going to be hopefully flipping around in the pits maybe if Guarnieri can get ahead, but I think the main thing they're hoping for is that Moisan, by staying out, ends up in a bad position, loses a couple seconds, and then with Guarnieri and Mello in a better spot on track, they're able to jump back forward. But it is pit stop time for basically all of the GT4 field. There's only a couple stragglers that have yet to stay out. Those fuel tanks are exhausting very, very quickly. So it's a surprisingly narrow pit window. It's usually wide open for those guys. So Moisan and Wildman, if they are able to go many, many extra laps, that'll tell you why. But I imagine they're going to come in soon.
I imagine they will as well. We take a live look on board with Corey Precker as he tries to make a move going down into the chicane. Not going to play off there. That's Wesley Griffith, the number 62, that he's playing a little bit of battle with here at this point. Check behind him to see where that traffic's coming up. He's got plenty of space to be able to run. I just saw another one of our GT4s come down into pit lane, and that's going to be our leader, Alexis Moisan.
Only one more straggler to go after him. Precker still side by side with Griffith, though, on the top of your screen, stuck behind Jean-Sebastien Bédard. That's going to be resolved very quickly, and it's good to see Corey putting on the pressure. He's a driver who loves, well, doesn't love to make a comeback race, but it seems like he's frequently forced into a comeback race, and he's always putting himself on the highlight reels, so it's good to see him with the virtual reality again. Good to see him putting on the pressure, and you can see with his hands, he is throwing that car around. He desperately wants to get by Wesley Griffith, but he is just realizing the realities of this Donington track where there's so few places to actually go for an overtake in just car-to-car combat.
Well, and we've got another reality, and that is the battle for the lead is sandwiched back down once again. Campbell and Brockway all on top of each other here at this point, as Brockway gets a good run coming out of the corner as they work their way into Coppice right now. Could this be the run for Adam Brockway? He gets a little bit of a wider line coming down through the final part of the double apex right-hander, and that's going to be able to keep him in line here. Not going to be able to make the move on Campbell coming down into Roberts at the moment. Again, Campbell very aggressive with those curbs. He's going to be able to stretch the gap a little bit, probably grow about 0.2 of a second here. But Brockway is the mosquito here that will not go away from Sean Campbell.
Graham Wildman in from the lead of GT4 in the background of your screen. That's everybody in GT4 now who's completed their pit stop. That's all going to be resolved. Still waiting on basically everybody in LMP3 to make their first and only stop of the race. These fuel tanks extending a little bit further than we've seen all season long. They can afford to have the shortest stops imaginable at the end. I don't know if Brockway's been able to save any fuel, so he's got to make this move on track, as I said earlier, and he's loving this corner. He's loving up over the top of the hill. Didn't love Coppice the last time around. He got stuck a little bit behind Graham Wildman. If he can get a good exit here, he may have a shot into the chicane. It's not going to work out for him again, though.
No, tried to carry speed around the outside, take what would traditionally be a momentum line there around the outside of Coppice, but again, that was Will Jennings that just kind of stuffed him up there a little bit, didn't give him any room to run. Here comes, is that Campbell down into pit lane? Yes, it is.
Comes in earlier than Brockway. That's interesting. Brockway's able to go one more lap around, sets the fastest lap again for good measure, but he could shorten his fuel stop a little bit by going a little bit longer here. It's going to be a fuel game, though. They were separated by about half a second. Campbell has been almost that, he's almost had that much of an advantage on fuel, and he's going to have an advantage on track, as you just saw Brockway getting absolutely murdered there by Kenny Gorman in the BMW. That was his entire gap that he may have gained by doing this gone.
Yeah, absolutely gone here at this point. By the way, Brockway is one of a few who have been able to keep out on track here at this point. The likes of Drescher, Morissette, Carangis, Starker, Doucette, all coming down into pit lane. He is the only driver that has been able to make it an extra lap. So credit here to Adam Brockway. But I got to agree with you, Joey. This is going to be very, very tight between himself and Campbell on pit exit.
See if he can go around one more lap and make up for losing all that time. But no, he's got to come in this time. And he's just got to hope that in the time we weren't looking at Sean, he was also getting held up in traffic that amount. He's going to get by Jerry Turner here through Coppice fairly easily. And now it's going to be a question of fuel mileage. Sean Campbell's stop, 9.9 seconds. Shortest stop from anybody else, 10.3. So he's got an advantage no matter what. Watch the number tick up. What's Brockway's stop going to be? Is he going to lose the lead either way? 9.6. That's a good stop. He's got a chance.
He's got a chance, but he's going to come out, and that is going to be Campbell up ahead of him. The gap will be about 2.4 seconds as they make their way through Redgate for the first time. Now, I would say this is Campbell doing what he's done, and he's going to scamper away with this race, but we still have 10 minutes left to play, and we have seen Brockway be able to deliver the speed here tonight. And remember, he is the only driver to go down into the sub-1 minute category. His best lap, 3.5 tenths faster than anything Campbell's been able to do.
Yeah, this is how good Adam Brockway's been today. Fastest driver, shortest stop. He was good at saving fuel as well. He did just get absolutely assaulted through the old hairpin, though. Kenny Gorman did nothing wrong. He was running the racing line. He was doing exactly what he should do. That's just the reality of multi-class racing sometimes, though. You're going to get held up in the worst possible place at times. And for Brockway, he did get held up in the worst possible place. You could visibly see he lost almost 3 seconds of time, and that's the reason that the gap is what it is. If he didn't get held up just that one time, he might even have the lead right now as Guarnieri throws it off the road.
And here comes Mello, waiting to make the attack here, back on his teammate. These two swapped around, remember, in the pit stop cycle. Guarnieri starting to pull away here a little bit, is now moving on by him. Is one of those LMP3s, not nearly as fast as I would expect them to as they get up to speed. Is that going to compromise Augustin coming down into Roberts? A little bit of a hop of the curb there. That can sometimes unsettle the car. Looks like he got the not best run there on the exit, but it's going to keep them the way they are.
You do have to think about off-tracks here. In the PRL, you only get 13 incident points before you have to serve a drive-through. You only get 17 before you're disqualified. And Guarnieri's been off the road a couple of times. He's clipped the grass a couple times. He's had a couple slides. I don't know if he's going to be thinking about 13 incident points right now, but Matthew Zerwick might be thinking about 13, because there he was throwing it off the road and almost taking Ian Starker with him.
Yeah, that got a little bit hairy to say the very least. So it looks like Joaquin Mello here has been able to, well, I was going to say keep up the gap, but he's losing more time to his teammate here on the 74 of Guarnieri. So it looks like that gap is getting back out to where it was. Guarnieri going by the scene of the accident on the last time around as they've got some more LMP3s trying to feed their way through.
That's one of the YS Motorsports LMP3s coming through. Jean-Sébastien Bédard has had a very good day today. It's been his best race so far. He's under pressure from Cade Smith, though, who's on a recovery drive. He was up in the top 5 very early in the race, spun all on his own into turn 1, and almost gets into the back of Bédard. Yes, he does get into the back of Bédard, and that is just a punt into McLean. Turns him around, and Bédard's best race of the season is no longer his best race of the season.
And that is what can happen here in this kind of racing. You just get a little bit too close, a little bit too aggressive with one another, and you're going to make contact. You try to send the car in a little bit too deep into these corners, and it's going to absolutely kick around on you a little bit. That is the problem, and Bédard just unfortunately catching that the wrong way.
Yeah, it's Cade Smith behind. We'll see him send the dive here for Arcade Smith. It was a little bit of an arcade move, sending it in, and it's kind of using poor old Jean-Sébastien as a brake. I don't think he intended to make that much contact, but the door wasn't open there. That's such a difficult place to actually go for a move. You need to be fully alongside, and it just didn't work out for either of them. There's a huge trouble back there. Nathan Jennings, and that's Adam Brockway taken out as well from second.
Oh, and I was just thinking in my head that Brockway had been able to get that gap down to under a second here at this point. It looks like a kerfluffle up in the form of the GT4s, and it just collected Brockway.
Looking at that car, seeing if he has any damage, I have to imagine he does. He's going to meet his buddy Jennings again. Jason Drescher's going to say thank you very much. I might take second from you if you have damage. And Sean's going to say thank you very much for an easy win. Let's see what happened to him. Up over the hill. Oh, I think he was trying to get through on Matthew Zerwick, I believe. But I don't think he was clear. We're going to take a look from the helicopter view when we can. But I think Brockway might have thought he was clear to the left when evidently he was not. Here it is from the upstairs perspective. Here comes Brockway. No, it was actually Jennings moving over.
Yeah, Jennings moved over there. I think Jennings wanted to follow Brockway through, and Jennings didn't recognize that he was clear. Brockway had the right way about that here at this point, and unfortunately a helpless victim as he came across it. Well, unfortunately here, that's going to really separate out the gap here at this point, as he is now 8.1 seconds behind his title rival in the form of Sean Campbell. And we've seen some pretty incredible things here from Adam Brockway, but I think 8.1 seconds is probably a little bit too far to reel back in here today with 5 minutes left.
I mean, if Guarnieri wants to do something really funny here, you could turn hard left into the side of Sean and repay the favor, but no, doesn't happen. Sean's going to survive again, and it's amazing how he gets the best luck here. His rival gets taken out. His rival gets stuck behind some GT4 traffic before the pit stop. Jean-Sébastien Bédard's in some trouble as well for good measure. But it's just, sometimes it just all goes your way in a season, DJ, and some of these guys haven't had the same luck.
And that's Corey Precker in the 135. Looks like he's had a little bit of an off. Not sure if contact was involved or if that was just a little bit of a moment of oversteer, or understeer rather, that he had coming through the corners. One way or another, he'll gather everything back up under him. We take a look here at what happened to him. We're going to try to pull that replay up here in a second to figure out exactly what happened to the YS Sim Sports driver. Looks like he turns down into the corner, runs a little bit wide. Oh. And, you know, I think what that was, maybe, some big contact there with the right-hand side of the car. That could have been incident fixation there, Joey. We saw that GT4 spun down to the inside, and I wonder if he just took his eye off the ball there for a second.
Took the words out of my mouth, Mr. Clark. Target fixation, it's the worst thing in the world. You wouldn't even think that would be target fixation, because Bédard was off the racing surface. He was on the inside of the track, but when you just get that little bit out of shape, when you see that little anomaly in your vision, suddenly you're just that little bit distracted. You just clip that little bit of grass, go off the road a tiny bit, make a tiny mistake, and it can all come undone. It's just those little stimuli, those little distractions that when you're racing at such high speeds, when you're playing with such fine margins, the tiniest thing can send you into total disaster.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of those very fine margins, we check back in on the SART teammates here. Augustin Guarnieri and Joaquin Melo right now trying to be able to sort themselves out. I think at this point, with Moisan 6.5 seconds up the road and 3 minutes left to go in this race, it's gloves off amongst the teammates. It is fight, fight, fight.
That all depends on Melo actually being able to make the move, and he hasn't really been able to do that. He's been close. He's been basically where he is all race long. But Guarnieri has been faster for basically the entire race. He's just been scuppered a little bit by mistakes, by slides, by clipping the grass. If he can just keep his head down for what's now only going to be 3 more laps of the line, he'll be in pretty good shape. And I don't think he has to worry about the car behind. But if he does make one of those big mistakes, they do tend to stack up. Melo may have a ticket to second, but it's going to come down to Guarnieri. I don't think there's anything Melo can do himself to actually make this move.
No, I don't think he can do either. Got a little bit of a battle here starting to form itself up in the LMP3 as well. Carangis and Greg Doucette, another pair of teammates that are into it a little bit. This is the battle for P5 right now. Carangis in the 311 leads the way. Doucette within 0.5 of a second. This is one we haven't really talked about over the course of the running today. We've had too much action farther up in the field, but definitely could end up being a little bit of a scrap here, especially as they work their way by Serwick. And here comes the move, inside, outside, trying to find it is Doucette.
Greg's trying to find a way by, but he's getting a face full of dazzle ships with his teammate right ahead of him. He's going to have to lift off a little bit here, up into Coppice. Greg is going to think about slotting in line, getting in the draft. He's going to think about a huge bit of oversteer there, rather, and that's going to take him entirely out of draft range. He had his chance, just got a little bit overeager up over the top of the hill, heated up the tires, and lost the rear. That's going to make Carangis very happy that he doesn't have a teammate fighting with him behind. All things considered, though, it's been a very good day for Throttle Thursday. 5th and 6th for them. That's going to be a great points haul. They've just got to keep it on the road.
There comes the 74 working their way through. Oh, and that was a spin off in front. That was a DQ there for Dan Gorman, I believe, in the BMW. His contact there with Joaquin Melo caused him to get disqualified.
Yeah, that was the 17x incident limit. Just add 4x to the total and instantly get yourself disconnected from the corporeal realm. Bad luck there. Let's ride on board with Joaquin Melo, second in line here. Let's see what happened. They were lapping Kenny Gorman into turn 1. Guarnieri almost gets into trouble, and then Melo just runs into the back of him. But I think Kenny was trying to get out of the way. That's why he was so slow. He was trying to let himself be passed, but it's similar to the LMP3-GT4 trouble. When you're a lapped car, you can try and get out of the way, but I don't think that was the place to get out of the way, and Melo is going to be unhappy about that. There may be a protest filed, but see what happens with that next week.
Well, it's as we've said, be predictable. And there, I've got to say, if you're Dan Gorman, that was a little bit of an unpredictable move. But 21 seconds left to go here in this race, make it about 15. I think this is going to be the white flag in the air here for Sean Campbell. Let's stay on board here with the number 26 as he comes around. Again, very aggressive with those curbs coming through Roberts. We take an eye to the flag stand here. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go for Campbell.
Yep, if he was a little bit slower, that might have been the checkered flag, but not quite so lucky. And in a race we circled for just complete chaos, DJ, in a race where anything could happen, where guys were faster than Campbell in practice, guys were faster than Moisan in practice, who are the 2 drivers who are leading in both classes? It's the 2 guys that have won almost every single other race this season. It's been a reward of solid driving, it's been a reward of consistency, and they've both had a little bit of luck as well, but yeah, it's been the same old somehow in the results, and I can't believe it.
Oh, and it looks like there we've gotten a couple of drive-through penalties that have been issued here at this point, going back through the field. I believe Jennings got one, quite a few others going back through. But that's of no mind here to our leader, Sean Campbell, as he makes his way, thought he was going to make his way by a little bit of lap traffic there in the form of Wesley Griffith. He's lapped all the way up to 9th place. But right now, Griffith Might want to slow down unless he wants to do another lap, but that's of no mind to Sean Campbell, who crosses the line and takes yet another victory on this season.
Yep, and Wesley does have to go one more time around. Lucky for him, though, Corey Precker was a lap down from Sean Campbell, so Wesley's guaranteed to be in the position he's in. He can go as slow as he likes to the end here. Here's how things have shaken out, though. Alexis Moisan still has half a lap to go. That's just how the cycle of lapping has gone. He's been just as dominant as Sean Campbell, though. Hasn't won every race this season like Sean has. He has been human a couple times at Phillip Island and Le Mans where he lost. But right here, he's been basically 2 to 6 seconds ahead of the rest of the field for the entire race. He's been totally untouchable. We haven't said his name once, and he's going to get a win for it. That's just the Alexis Moisan way.
Yeah, that is how this number 21 does it. Quiet, calm, consistent. That is how Moisan wins races, and that's exactly what Alexis is going to do here today, taking another victory on the season ahead of Augustin Guarnieri and Joaquin Melo here at this point. We've got to wait a whole 7.1 seconds for them to finish as they finally cross over the line here at this point. They are done with the race. Dominant performances, it has to be said, for Campbell and Moisan.
A couple more drivers still crossing the line. Spare a thought for Graham Wildman, who was potentially in the fight for the podium. Had an issue on pit lane, 39 seconds in the box. I think he missed his stall initially and then checked his tires. Something went wrong for him. That's why he lost all those positions. Still going to get P6 for his efforts, though, and keep a minuscule championship hope alive.
Yeah, he'll still keep it alive going into these final 2 rounds, but we will have to see exactly what it's going to do. Let's go ahead and run you through the final finishing order here from Donington Park, as it was Sean Campbell by 9 seconds that was able to take victory over Adam Brockway. Jason Drescher rounding out your podium positions. Then it was Joey Morissette, Nicholas Carangis, Greg Doucette, Ian Starker, Sean Mulholland, and Wesley Griffith, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Corey Precker was 1 lap down in P10, followed by Russell Peterson 2 laps down, and then some drivers that had a rough day out there today. Ariel Urexoy, Michael Kulaga, and Matt Dinsmore. Let's move on over into the GT4 category, as it was Alexis Moisan by 7 seconds able to take the victory over Augustin Guarnieri, and then Joaquin Melo in your top 3. Everybody else lapped down from those 3 very fast drivers, including Andrew Sharp and Cade Smith, who we saw get into a little bit of a scuffle out there on the circuit. Graham Wildman had that problem in pit lane that put the Soy Boys Racing driver down into 6th place. Nathan Jennings was 7th, followed by Will Jennings, Travis Pruitt, and Jean-Sebastien Bedard in P10. P11 was Jerry Turner, and then Matthew Serwick, Joshua Reed, Kenny Gorman all finishing 3 laps down. Then Dan Gorman, Matthew Aloka, and Gerard Farewell rounding out your 17-car GT4 field. Well, it's time to have a few interviews here, and there's no better way to start it than the man who we've talked to every single time this season. It is Sean Campbell. And Sean, this looked like maybe your most closely fought race there for a second, as it looked like Brockway was really giving you some pressure.
Oh, oops.
There we got you, buddy.
Yeah, I had it set to the wrong headset, so I could hear it across the room. So...
yeah, so it looked like there that's another win for you, but not without a little bit of pressure there from the former Brockway.
Yeah, no, it was close. It was close the whole time through traffic and everything, keeping me on my toes. I was kind of banking on the pit stop because it seems like I've gained a bit of time each time so far. So I was just hoping I could stay in front until then.
Well, talk to me a little bit about that traffic management, because that was our big story coming into the race of just how you were going to manage it. Did you have a sort of preset plan on how you wanted to be able to get by traffic, or did you just kind of have to roll with the changes?
Well, I technically have experience with this type of speed difference at this track because of Camel GT ran here, and the Audi is infamously bad in the corners compared to the Nissan. So... It's just about, especially at this track, about maximizing how much exit speed you can take and not getting compromised there, even if it means you have to check up like way before the corner.
Well, check up and maximizing the corner speed is exactly what you were able to do. As we look ahead next time to Zandvoort, kind of a similar circuit. Have you had a chance to run the new scan?
I've done a couple laps, and it's very fun. A lot of different line opportunities because of the how much more camber there is.
All right, well, we look forward to that, and multiple lines, of course, means multiple ways to overtake here for these 2 fields. Sean, congratulations on yet another victory, my friend. We'll see you next week.
All right, peace.
All right, that was Sean Campbell, your victor here today. And Joey, now it looks like you've been able to catch up with P3, Jason Drescher.
Indeed, I am. Jason Drescher, welcome back to the RaceSpotTV booth. After being fastest in practice, on the podium here, what more did you need? More luck? What more did you need to beat Sean up at the top?
More pace. But yeah, definitely had a good start, got up to second, and made a little mistake going up the hill onto the back straight, which allowed Adam to get by. And was doing all right, got rear-ended by a GT4, and yeah, survived. It was definitely a minefield out there, though.
So next week, it's not the most dissimilar track. Zandvoort also going to be tight and twisty, a somewhat short lap time. What can you take from this week to apply to next week? And do you think next week could finally be the place where that win comes your way?
Oh, I got my fingers crossed for that. But yeah, just a little bit of patience through traffic, and I think it's a little wider, a little bit more places to pass, so hopefully I'll have a better shot there.
Well, Jason, congrats on yet another podium. You're making me hungry with the milk car of all time. Every single week. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Jason Drescher coming home in third, the old Milkman. But we've got one more driver to talk to, DJ. Alexis Moisan's back here to talk to us for once, and he's gonna be in conversation with you.
Certainly is, Alexis. Another win for you here, and another one in dominant fashion. I'm curious how you were able to put this one together, because we frankly didn't give you a lot of screen time. You just kind of rolled away from this one.
Yeah, I think I just got a good start and managed the traffic very well. Yeah, pretty much it.
Well, pretty much it. You were able to do it. How much were you, as a GT4 driver, sort of having to change your way of driving around a short track like this with the faster LMP3s coming up behind you?
At the end, I was slowing down quite a lot because I just wanted to finish the race. But at the start, I was taking a few more risks, but yeah, it went pretty well.
Well, went pretty well for you. Can we see another repeat next time in Zandvoort? And have you had a chance to drive the new rescan of that Dutch circuit?
Yeah, I did, and the banking is a lot of fun. So, but I didn't do a race there yet. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, we'll see how it goes indeed. Alexis, congratulations. We'll see you next week, my friend.
Bye, have a good night.
All right there, your victor from the GT4 category. A quiet victor nonetheless, Joey, but you got to be pretty pleased with that run for him.
Yeah, Alexis, quiet but dangerous. Quiet but just constantly winning. That's the Alexis Moisan we knew from last season when he won 10 out of 10 races in the GR86 series. That's now 6 out of 8 wins this season. 2 more rounds to go. I think both tracks where he could easily win. He could be well on the road for his second championship in succession. And he's just really shown up in the PRL here and made everybody just stare at him and stare at his rear bumper.
Yeah, certainly has, and it's been a very, very impressive run for him. Well, as you heard us preview there at that point, we do indeed have some new grounds to be able to take to next week as we head over to Zandvoort. That banking added going through the infield section as well, down through Ari Lyondike, really going to change that circuit up. Joey, have you had a chance to drive it? I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but everything I have heard has said it has absolutely made the place electric to drive.
I have had a chance to drive it. I drove it when it first came out. It makes me happy because that Tony Hawk ollie curb in between the second to last corner and the last corner is gone, so you don't instantly throw it off the road there. And it is just faster. It's more conducive to good racing because they kind of had to do that with F1 coming along. Not the easiest type of car to pass in, so made things a little bit wider, gave some more lines in the final corner and through the hairpin. I think it'll be a pretty solid race here, and it'll be a similarly frustrating race to catch traffic at the wrong moments.
I think you're right about that, but worry not, folks. The racing action is not done yet here tonight, as we are ready for the second part of our doubleheader here on RaceSpotTV as we head to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. In my best Italian accent that I can pull out there, I apologize to the entirety of the Italian country for that. But nevertheless, Joey, you don't need to have an accent to be able to say it. It's Monza. What else do you have to say about this Temple of Speed?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have an accent. What are you talking about? But it's the Temple of Speed. Il Tempio della Velocità, I believe is the Italian translation. it's the temple of speed, but it's also the temple of, oh god, I'm scared into turn 1, and that's going to be the big pressure point. We're going to be looking at turn 1 in the start in both GTP and LMP2. It's always a pinch point. It's always a place where we lose a couple cars. Hopefully not the case this time.
Yeah, you're certainly right about that. Let's go ahead and run you through the championship order here as we take a look at first our schedule. And we've got 2 more Temples of Speed coming up here as we head to Road America and the Red Bull Ring. 2 absolutely fantastic circuits to be able to end out this season. And, well, if you weren't already thinking the Cadillac was going to be pretty dominant around those circuits with its high horsepower and great acceleration off the line, rest assured, there's a reason why most of the drivers picked it out here. But as we look at the championship standings, it's Colin Hopkins that leads the way by about 20 points. But don't sleep on Dave Menino or Michael Diaz or Ryan O'Connor. They're all within striking distance, as is Zach Hebert. They're in P6. Mac Miller maybe just a little bit out of range there, but then a nice little battle going on for Bradley Holly, Nick Silver, and Aiden Young rounding out your top 10 positions. As we move on over into the team's standings, it's still pretty close at the top with Precision Racing Esports Elite leading by only about 20 points over SRTE Black. Then it's Precision Racing Academy, about 30 points behind them. It's Fiercely Forward Yellow, and only 3 points behind them, Whatback Racing Overdrive. About 20 points back finds Fiercely Forward Black, then Atomic Racing, and then a big way back to L1 Esports, who's in a close battle with Echelon Sim Sports and Bowie Esports as well. We also have those standings in the LMP2 categories. It's Jack Hedgecox that leads the way there in that by about 30-odd points, call it about 28 over Nicholas Gowan, and then Caleb Limon not too far behind him as well. Joshua Chinsky has a nice little gap over Jeremy Carter, but he's got to watch out for Darian Roy coming up behind him. Chase Kaufman holds off Josh Gowan here, and Kalen and Ryan Chandler are tied for 9th place as things stand. As we move on over into those LMP2 teams standings, it's SRTE leading the way by about 40 points over Gowan Racing Amethyst, and then Gowan Racing Ruby not too far back from them. Whatback Racing is in 4th place with Precision Racing Academy LMP2 about 40 points back in P5. Then it's Vision 1 Motorsports, E3 Motorsports, and Box 5 Motorsports to round out your standings. And just like that, Joey, we are ready for drivers to head out onto the circuit here for qualifying. Much as we saw in the previous series tonight, it will be a solo qualifying session. And this is one of those moments that I frankly wish we had a little bit more diversity here in the GTP category, as I've been able to watch a lot this week, and I actually find the differences here, particularly between the Acura and the Cadillac, quite fascinating. That Acura, a very darty car, very quick through the medium and low speed corners, makes it very, very devilishly quick coming out of those areas and able to make those moves. The Cadillac, meanwhile, in that naturally aspirated V8, very grunty as it goes over everything. Could have made for a pretty fascinating battle, but we've only got about 2 or 3 Acuras in the field.
I do appreciate that when you said very grunty, you went very grunty.
I do what I can for you. It was all for you, my friend.
That's the acting school right there.
You're darn right it is. That's doing a nice line reading. My professors would be proud of me.
They would be. They would be. And we can hear the sounds here. The Cadillac doing its own acting of just screaming down the straights. That's all that it is. It's that American Cadillac muscle. That's why it's so popular in the official series, not just because it is fast, but because people like to hear the loudest car, and it's been the fastest car in this series. There's one BMW in the field in J.R. Williams. There's a couple of Acuras with Bradley Holly and Jeff Evans and the Whatback guys, but every single other team is in one of these Cadillacs. And now Pat Pelshaw's on the clock for the first time. He's going to be the first driver actually on the clock to set a lap. He's going to be hoping to at least put it on the top of the board in the first lap. He'll have 3 more after that, though.
Yeah, 3 more after that, and this is going to be a race, I think, where not only are we going to be talking about the outright speed of these cars, but we're going to see some draft trains start to form, obviously, with the high-speed nature of this circuit. And with those draft trains comes with it some pretty massive fuel savings. So I think the pit strategy here could be especially important and very, very interesting to see how that'll play.
And if you have some teammates, it's going to be good because you're going to be able to discuss that strategy. You're going to be able to work together if you find each other on track. And you may be able to organize maybe a little bit of a train at the head of the field, saving fuel, helping each other. There'll be all sorts of things you can do. Pat Pelshaw does have a good couple of teammates. He's got Michael Diaz. He's got Ryan O'Connor. He's got Boris Ovando, who's back in the field this week. He's got a lot of teammates to bounce things off of, and a lot of teammates to maybe be a buffer for him. He won a race at the start of the season, hasn't won again since. He wants to put himself back in championship contention, and the best possible way to do that is to lead into turn 1, and then lead for about 40 minutes after that, too.
Yeah, that's going to be the real key here, I think, is being able to get through turn 1 nice and cleanly. As you mentioned earlier, often a flashpoint here, especially on the first lap, is that late braking area really tempts drivers to brake too late as they come down into the corner. So there's going to be plenty of drivers here at this point who hopefully are able to get things woed down ahead of you. You've got to be very, very heads up. We've talked a lot here about the GTPs. Let's focus back on the LMP2s as well, as we ride on board with Darian Roy right now as he makes his way around, going through the Variante Ascari, another one of those areas that it is so crucial to be able to get a good run through.
I'm always curious about Darian Roy because we've been broadcasting him for many seasons now. He's been around in the Precision Racing League for a while, but I believe he is another French-Canadian, and I've always been curious, is it Darian Roy or is it Darian Roy? I've never got the real answer to that question, but I'm putting it out into the ether so it does finally get answered. He's going to cross the line. It's going to not be a very good lap time for him. He's going to go around for yet another time, and I know he'll definitely improve on that. He's been in the fight for top 10s, top 5s all season long. 9th place is not where he's going to be for this whole session.
Yeah, that's a very good. Well, that's not going to help him out there.
Nope.
A little bit of a front brake lockup, it looked like, coming down into turn 1. And that's one of the things that you especially have to watch out for on that opening lap is with cooler brake temperatures that it's very easy to mess that braking point up and to find yourself skidding and sliding across the track.
Mark Kalin coming to the line here, a couple times a race spot commentator this season against all odds, kind of slotting in heroically a couple times. Going to be P8 for him, but he's going to keep going out there as the fuel tank lightens. You're only going to be faster in a straight line. You're only going to be faster over the course of the whole lap, and you just saw J.R. Williams there pick up 3 whole seconds on lap number 2.
Yeah, and Williams here in that BMW trying to make the best run of it. Now, here's one of those Acuras that we were talking about a little bit earlier. This is Nicholas Schwartz, yet to put down a time here at this point, and he's not going to be able to put down one here as he runs, as that's going to be counted as an off-track going to the outside there of the Parabolica.
Now here he comes down the front straight. He will get 2 more laps, even though that one doesn't count. It's closed qualifying because this is a multi-class series. You don't really want to have traffic interactions in a qualifying session, as funny as that would be. You do want to give everybody the chance to qualify on their lonesome, so you get 4 laps in a 10-minute period to do your best all on your own. And Schwartz has been unlucky. He's got off tracks on both of his opening laps so far in the first 6 minutes of this session. He may only have one more chance, actually. He may have actually used up 3 laps in 6 minutes, so we'll see what he can do as Daniel Harris throws it up on pole again.
Oh, nice run there by Harris. Almost a full half a second over your championship points leader of Colin Hopkins. That's a great run there for him. J.R. Williams still your highest place. Non-Cadillac is Schwartz. That is not going to be a lap time there for the number 9.
Yeah, that is total destruction, and I think that smelled a little bit like giving up halfway through the corner. I think he realized he wasn't going to improve. Pat Pelchaw might improve here. 2 seconds off pole is not where he really should be. And out of the final corner, coming to the line. It feels like an agonizingly long run when you're feeling it on track. Diaz puts it right next to Daniel Harris, but Pat Pelchaw, only P3 for him, 3/10 off his teammate.
Yeah, but that gap, crucially, has come down here a little bit at this point. But look at this, a little bit surprising. The gap here between Jeff Evans in 8th and Dave Menino in 7th, that gap alone is 1.5 seconds. So there's a big disparity here among this pack, and we could almost see a three-class race if that gap stays the same between the top GTP drivers, that sort of mid-pack GTP, and then the LMP2s.
Yeah, Ryan O'Connor right now is lower than he should be. He's in the top 5 in the championship. He's had podiums this season. Just hasn't really had the qualifying speed here, but he's looking to be very much up. Times have come down in every single lap for everybody. So Ryan O'Connor, as he comes out of the final corner, didn't throw it out of the white line. This lap will count. Where can he put that car? It's a great lap, and it's going to be P4, I believe, right next to his Precision Racing Esports teammates. Great lap from O'Connor.
Yeah, very, very good lap, and that's going to do a pretty much lockout here at the top 6 for Cadillacs. Here comes Dave Menino in another one of those Cadillacs, currently down in 8th position right now. The driver who is currently on the cusp of that big bubble that we were talking about, Bradley Holly, is going to put his Acura up into P9, breaking that up a little bit. But let's see what Menino's got here. It does look like he's had a couple of green sectors as he comes through Parabolica right now. Going to be on the loud pedal as we take a listen to that big V8 Cadillac as he's going to come across the line. Is this going to be an improvement for Menino? Yes, up to P6.
Good job, Dave. Couple of tenths off. He's going to get one more chance around. If he does have a lap in the books, it will count. Boris Ovando, another great lap from our Precision Racing Esports driver, puts it up into P2. That's Precision Racing Esports 1, 2, 3, and Precision Racing Academy in P5 for Ryan O'Connor as well. Great stuff there. We've been distracted. We haven't looked at LMP2 in a while either, and Jerome Bertiome, he's just put it in the top 5.
Yeah, Jerome's run really well these past 2 weeks in that LMP2. Caught a little bit of bad luck last time out, unfortunately. Here's Nicholas Gowan, who currently runs in 3rd place in that LMP2 category right now. Gowan trying to be able to jump over Caleb Lamont and Joshua Chinsky. The gap's not a whole lot in between them. Call it about 25 thousandths of a second here in between those 3 runners. Gowan's going to come across the line. I think he knew that was a bad one. Oh. Yeah, he's going to shake and shimmy there a little bit. He is not going to improve as Hedgecox jumps up to the top by a mere 100th of a second.
That was big stuff from the championship leader in LMP2. I was kind of shocked. He was 8th for the longest time in this session. I was wondering what's gone wrong with Mr. Hedgecox, but now he's back where he should really be. And the rest of the LMP2 field cries because they want to beat him for once, and he's just been so good this season that he's only lost, I believe, 3 total races. 2 to Nicholas Shepard, 1 to Caleb Lehman. Could it be another one today? Chris Rabel is going to be he's going to be very close, but he's going to throw it off the road in the Parabolica. That's not going to count for him, and he's going to stay at P10 as the final driver to cross the line.
Yep, as it looks like it's going to be Daniel Harris and Jack Hedgecox there, your leader in the GTP and LMP2 class, respectively, here at this point. This is going to set up a pretty fascinating run here down into that first corner. Let's go ahead and run you through that starting order here at the moment, as it is going to be Daniel Harris leading the way over Boris Ovando, then Michael Diaz and Pat Pelshot, as you said, at Precision Racing Esports 2, 3, 4, with Precision Racing Academy's Ryan O'Connor in P5. Colin Hopkins lines up in P6. Behind them, it's Dave Menino. Aiden Young finds himself in P8 with J.R. Williams, your first non-Cadillac in the field, and Jeff Evans, another non-Cadillac, in 10th. Bradley Holly is 11th position, followed by Zach Hebert there in 12th. Then it's Nicholas Schwartz and Nick Silver rounding out the top 14 of your GTP category. As we move back into the LMP2s, it's Jack Hedgecox with Joshua Chinsky to his outside, very close up the top of this field with Caleb Lemon and then Nicholas Gowan in the top 4. Jeremy Carter is 5th, followed by series organizer Jerome Bertiome there in P6. Moving back into P7, it's Chip Michaels and Mark Kalin with Damien Benke and Chris Rebell rounding out your top 10. Blake Ziti is in P11, followed by Darian Roy in P12, then Ryan Chandler and Chase Kaufman in 14th. Giovanni Perez D'Amico is 15th, followed by Kyle Stritchards. Then it's Alexander Good and Eric Harmon in P18. P19 will be Doug Sorrento, and then Brian Hoskins rounds out your 20-car LMP2 field here at this point. Well, it is a short pace lap around here. We will be starting just before the Variante Ascari as the field lines their way up pretty much under the bridge of the old banking. And really here at this point, Joey, we can't talk about anything with talking about turn 1. That has got to be the first place. You have got to get through turn 1 cleanly, then we can talk about the rest of this race.
Yes, that is going to be the danger zone, especially if you're Daniel Harris, because you've got 4 teammates behind you. And Daniel Harris's season has not gone well. Even when he started on pole, he's had trouble on lap 1 before. He's been taken out before the green flag before. He's really hoping that he can have a good luck day, but it's Monza turn 1, and if there's anybody who bad luck is going to strike, it could very well be Daniel Harris. He's going to hope to get a jump, though, and maybe get himself out of draft range before they get into turn 1 and preserve himself for at least the first couple of corners.
Well, that's what he's going to be hoping to do here at this point as the field starts to roll away. Track temperature is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so you're not going to have to worry too much about getting those tires up to temperature. I will say, though, watch for a decent amount of brake dragging going down this straightaway, going into the curve of Parabolica, as you really need to make sure that those brake temperatures are up before you jump on the binders going down into that first corner. It's a long, long drag here down the front sprint, start-finish straightaway before you head into Rettifilio, and you have got to be very, very careful that you don't lock up those front brakes and go steaming off to the inside.
And it might not even necessarily be the leaders we're worrying about into turn 1. It might actually be the guys at the back of the field in both GTP and in LMP2. Because when you go to 100% brake pressure, if you're checking up for a big checkup into turn 1, it's very easy to lock up the rears and spin it around, especially in an LMP2 car. So if you're the likes of Nick Silver or Zach Hebert at the back of GTP, if you're in the back of the LMP2 field as well, be careful. Make sure you're watching your brake pressure. You don't want to be the guy who loops it around on your own in turn 1.
Very, very much so, Joey. I couldn't have said it better myself, but right now they're not worried about the brakes. They're worried about the loud pedal as Daniel Harris takes a look up to the flag stand, and there goes the green. We are racing here in Monza. It's a brilliant getaway from Colin Hopkins, who makes a move down to the inside. We're already 2-3 wide as we fire down the main straightaway, trying to sort themselves out here. They get into perfect two-file order. Harris leads the way as they get themselves on the binders. Brake smoke, turn around, and it's happened immediately.
Precision Racing Esports 2-3-4. How about all the way to the back of the field for all three of them? Diaz, Ovando, and Pelshaw all to last in one corner.
Oh my goodness, and they're barely going to be able to get themselves out and moving before the majority of the LMP2 field gets their way on through. But it couldn't have been a better start here for Daniel Harris as Haber and Menino look like they're dicing it out a little bit, coming down into De La Rogia as they're going to be able to sort themselves out. There we see the rest of the field catching up to the back, and now they fire into the Lesmos for the first time.
The 124 off the road coming into the chicane on the right side of your screen. That is aggressive stuff side by side with Nicholas Goen through the second chicane. Very well made there. I think that was Jeremy Carter going fully aggressive mode. He's up into fourth in LMP2.
Yep, the fourth in LMP2, and we've got a car stopped there, and that is going to be Ovando. Looked like that damage maybe a little bit terminal, may have gotten things wrong coming through the second Lesmo.
It all went wrong for him in turn 1, and then somehow it ended up going even wronger halfway through the lap. It has just been an absolute disaster for him and for the whole team. Boris has been on a part-time season this season, hasn't been at every race, but here's what happened to him. Coming through the corner, did he have a teammate behind him? He didn't. It was all him, clipping the grass and spinning himself into the Armco.
Yeah, and that can happen there, especially on cold tires. That's a brush-breaking corner, that second Lesmo. You want to carry a lot of speed through there, and if you don't get it just right on that first lap, you don't get the bite point right to come on in, it can spell disaster. But plenty of moving and shaking here up in the GTP category as we right now going down to turn 1. Menino, Williams, and they're all on top of each other.
Is dicey stuff. J.R. Williams says, thank you very much. I'll take all those spots on lap 1. He was not up in the top 5 qualifying. And notice the front end of that car, he's the only BMW in the field. He's fighting for his life with those muscly Cadillacs on a straight line. He is going to hold back Dave Menino for just a moment, though he's in their teammate, even though they are separate cars. But you have to imagine the straight line speed of that Cadillac is going to mean Menino's going to be through soon.
Oh, and there it is. Menino dives down to the inside, going into the Lesmos as we take a look here farther back down in the field. They're still trying to sort themselves out here, coming down into the second Lesmo here at this point. Menino getting around J.R. Williams, and now Williams looks like he's going to be under pressure from Hébert. The straight line speed of that Cadillac coming to play. Menino tries to go, or Williams tries to go a little bit defensive and is able to keep Hébert behind him for now.
Well done there. Zach Hebert has to slot back in line. It's been a good race for Zach so far, but it hasn't been ideal so far. He's been slotting in line. He's just been surviving basically. If it's any solace, look at the cars he has behind him though. Jeff Evans, Bradley Holly. No offense to them, they are in Acuras. They're not going to be in contention for the top 5 here on pace. So Zach can hold back a little bit more, maybe get one more spot ahead of him, and at least take some solace. He's not going to be losing any spots unless he makes a mistake himself.
Yeah, Hebert just trying to get that move done on J.R. Williams right now. Going to poke that Cadillac down to the inside. Here he goes later on the binders, almost getting into the side of him. Contact coming into the first corner.
Well, that's what I get for saying he's not going to lose any positions. Jeff Evans says, Joey, you idiot, I'm getting by right now. I'm taking that spot. And that's what you can get by not locking the brakes and not making errors like that. You get positions. Both Jeff and Brad both took full advantage of that last week on Wednesday night. Bradley Holly returned to victory lane in the Grand National Series in the PRL for the first time in a season. And right now he's got 2 guys ahead of him who may end up making more mistakes and opening the door for him again.
Yeah, certainly might here at this point. J.R. Williams just looked like he had a little bit of it off. Let's take a look back at that restart. Oh, there was contact going down into the corner, Joey. I didn't see that before. A little bit of nose to tail, and I think that's what set off the domino effect. There was a little wiggle. I thought that was just a lock of the brakes, but it was between Pelshaw and Ovando, I believe. I hope we can get another helicopter view of that to really see what happened. But there was just that little bit of contact, and then the lead car of the 3, Ovando, couldn't get it slowed down, got into the side of Diaz, and it was just total destruction for Precision Racing Esports. I'm sure we'll keep looking at that. But LMP2, they're separated by a blanket as well. Hedgecox was only on pole in this class by 10,000ths of a second, and he's got 4 cars right behind him in a train who want to get by him immediately. But here's that replay again into turn 1. I want to analyze this, DJ, really quick. That's Pelshaw in 3rd in line, if I'm not mistaken. He gets into the back of Diaz, actually. Diaz can't get it slowed down into Ovando, and that's the whole bowling ball effect. Yeah, that's exactly it. Brilliant analysis there, Joey, as we jump back into the battle for LMP2 that's about to get very, very hot. Limon trying to make a little bit of a run here on Jack Hedgecox. Jeremy Carter lurking in the wings. Is he going to be able to make the move now that Caleb has had to slow down a little bit? Could this be a 2-for-1 here? As here they go. Chinsky's now up into the lead here. They're going, trying to sort themselves out. Hedgecox gets all out of whack. Jumping on the binders there is Nick Cowan as they come down, and they've completely switched positions. I think that was actually conservative stuff from Jack Hedgecox. He was backing out of things because he didn't want to make it a Precision Racing Esports moment into turn 1. He lost a spot to Caleb Lehman for it, but he does slot himself back in line and he does survive. You've got kind of a volatile guy in the lead. No offense to Josh Chinsky. It's not a him problem. It's a problem of being in the lead for the first time. Chinsky's never won a race before. That's always a high-pressure situation, and he's going to be feeling the pressure from all these guys behind him who have won before, both Lehman and Hedgecox. Ooh, and I think that was a slowdown penalty there in the back for Nick Cowan, the 88, and that Scarlet machine pulling out to the side, getting out of the way there at that point, and just kind of ceding those positions over. But now the draft is going to come back into play here for the number 42 as Chinsky tries to defend the position as best as possible. But this has spread out these drivers, albeit ever so slightly. It's kind of been multi-class in and of itself. We've got LMP2 and we've got LMP 2.5. We've got 2 different trains here, but every position is going to matter, especially with how close things have been up front. If they do get into an argument with each other, if there is a collision in the top 4, there's plenty of opportunities for those spots to open, and that's not even mentioning traffic interactions, which will happen today. GTP's about 5 seconds a lap faster than LMP2s. They will catch each other before the end of the race. It may only be once, but it will happen. Yeah, it will happen here, and thankfully, as opposed to what we saw at Donington, there are plenty of areas to get that overtake as the hybrid energy systems of the GTPs will come into play. A little bit of a move farther back. Bertiom and Chip Michaels going side by side back down to the LMP2 category. That's going to be Bertiom be able to get the position and move his way up into, I believe, 5th in class. Good stuff from Jerome. I'm of course obligated to say Jerome's doing a good job as the head honcho of this whole series. I gotta keep myself in his good graces, but he's gonna be in trouble here into the chicane. Chip Michaels on the outside. Chip's gonna have a hard time making that work around the outside though, and it's not gonna happen. Jerome's gonna hold on to the position. Chip is still all over the back of him. Looking to the inside, looking to the outside. He's just getting the full Jerome defensive masterclass though, and he's gonna have to think about another way by. How about the inside into the second Lesmo? There's your second shot. Yeah, but he's not going to be able to get the car wound up in time to be able to make the second Lesmo, and there he goes. Now Nick Gowan says, thank you very much. I'd like a little bit of that as they fly down under the branch right now, headed into the Variante Ascari, who is going to be able to make this work here at this point. Gowan's going to hope to make it work around the outside. He doesn't have to, as ceding the position there is Chip Michaels. Good stuff there from Nicholas, racing on his own. His brother Josh, not in the field tonight. He was busy with some other things, but he is cheering him on. That's the go-in family connection right there, and they're cheering each other on, even if they might not be on the track with each other. Love to see that connection, and I'm sure they would both love to see Nicholas finally get a win. He's been on pole twice this season. Hasn't quite gone his way in the races, though. It's going to be a tall order to get back up there with 5 seconds up to Chinsky, but he's keeping the pressure on, even with some GTP traffic behind him for position. Yeah, that was Michael Diaz making their way on through. We check back in on the battle for the lead here. Chinsky and Caleb Lehman right now up in the front of the field, starting to grow a little bit of a gap. It's about 0.8 of a second back to Jack Hedgecox, but it didn't look like the best run there out of the corner for Caleb, as the number 42 is going to drop a couple of tenths of a second, and Hedgecox is going to be right back into position. But he's got to watch out. Jeremy Carter not too far behind him as well, as these top four are only separated here at this point by about 1.5 seconds. Now, that good news for them, though, is they've got about 2.7 seconds between themselves and 5th place of Jerome Bertillon.
That was really scary into the De La Raja chicane for Chinsky. Locked the rear brakes, got all sorts of slidey, lost only about 0.3 to Lehman, but the pressure is real. And those are the kinds of mistakes you can't be making. If you start overheating the rear tires, if you start locking the rears, it's going to lead to a moment where you are the race leader, you are feeling the pressure, and you throw it away under pressure. You have to make sure to keep it consistent, keep it cool, don't look in your rearview mirrors, and that's just so hard to do when you're leading a race for the first time, searching for that first win. That's why it's so hard to get that first win, especially when you've got somebody pressurizing you behind you like Caleb Lehman.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, and Lehman here at this point got a great run coming out of Ascari right now as he takes a look going down the back straightaway into the Parabolica. Not necessarily seeing an area to overtake here at this point is Lehman, but he's just going to keep tucking behind in that draft. That dirty air handled nicely. A little bit less downforce here in these LMP2s, but it is still enough to upset the balance of the car.
And if it's any solace for Chinsky, that is a teammate behind him in Lehman. So they probably are talking right now. They're probably in communication somehow. And I imagine Caleb's saying, don't worry about me right now. I'm just going to be here. I'll pounce if you make a mistake, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on. And Caleb might be saving fuel to kind of trick him once the pit stop comes around. It'll be helpful to have a teammate back there. But look at Michael Diaz still coming through. That shows you the GTP versus LMP2 speed difference. Diaz, who's been at the back of the field since the race start, is passing LMP2 cars for position right now, and he's not having the easiest time on the straights. It's not as different as basically any other track with all these straight lines. They're as equal as they've been all season.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, the GTPs do have a little bit of that straight line speed courtesy of the hybrid. They do also have a little bit more downforce on those cars, so that's going to change things up. And there you can really see it with Diaz able to carry more speed, more momentum in that Cadillac through the second Lesmo. He'll be able to work his way around now, coming behind the number 18 here of Joshua Chinsky. He's going to tuck down to the inside of the Variante Ascari. And there he goes, well woed up, almost missed the corner there. That's actually going to slow up Chinsky a little bit. Is that going to put him at risk here from Limon?
Yeah, that was the target fixation that Chinsky couldn't afford to have. Kind of followed Diaz through the corner. That is going to open the door for Lehman, but I don't know if Caleb's going to go for it. Remember, he is an SRT teammate. He may have had an opportunity to go for it if he was another driver, but Caleb thinks, I'm going to preserve the team here. We're fighting for the team's championship in LMP2. It's probably best if I don't send a low percentage move into Parabolica. He is going to be fully in the draft down the front straight, though. He's going to be within 1/10 of a second in a couple of moments' time. He could go for a move into turn one here if he really wanted to. This is going to tell us the tale of the teammates, though. Does he go for it? No, he doesn't. Slots back in line, saves a little bit of fuel in the braking zone, and stays behind for now.
Well, and that goes his other thing is there. We've got a little bit of googly eyes going on for Caleb. Love to see that, albeit those are a little bit cross-eyed here at this point. Maybe he needs to shake his head a little bit, get him back pointed the right way. But nevertheless, 4 pairs of eyes better than 2 here at this point to be able to keep an eye on the track.
1 second per lap. That's what each googly eye gives you. Caleb would be a back marker if he didn't have those googly eyes on. That's why we love to see him. We do encourage everybody in the field to turn on their Zoom. It's always good to see the drivers' perspectives. We've got a huge contingent tomorrow night on Tuesday of drivers who are always giving us their cameras. We hope that next season, when we come around to Monday nights, 2024 Season 1, I want to see the highest percentage of cameras ever in the field. I want to see everybody. I want to see all of your faces. I want to make fun of all of your rooms. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, I don't know what the maybe is about that. No, you've got to see it. It's always fascinating to be able to see what each driver has, what their kind of creature comforts are, and frankly, who's driving in a desk chair and who's got a full rig setup. Always kind of fascinating to see that difference as we keep our eyes on this battle. Now for 8th, Chris Rebel and Damian Benke. This is getting a little bit spicy back in the LMP2s.
Benke peeking to the outside, not actually taking the draft of Chris Rabel into the Parabolica, which is somewhat surprising. Maybe thinking he wants to go for the move on the front straight instead. He's going to switch him back. Excellent move from Damian Benke. As easy as that. it through the parabolica, completely clear. Great stuff from Damien. He is going to be under pressure, though, into turn 1 there, as Chris scuppered himself through the parabolica. He's going to have the greatest advantage down the front straight, and he's actually going to give Damien a little bit of a bump draft down the front straight. He's going to peek to the outside, but he was helpful in the end of that all. That was just a dumbfounding sequence of events, and somehow Damien Banky's come out on top.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that as well. But then again, as we do keep in mind here, we have seen from time to time some bump drafts taking place in these LMP2s. Now, if you have an LMP2, do not try this at home. That is a move that is only suggested here in iRacing. But nevertheless, we jump back here into the battle for 6th place in the GTP category. Pat Pelshot, J.R. Williams, Cadillac versus BMW, as here comes Pelshot.
Inside into turn 1, he's not even going to have to outbrake JR. He's going to be clear almost in the braking zone with the straight line speed of that Cadillac. And that is Pat up into P6. Remember, he started up in the top 5. Needs a couple more spots. Do not have lost anything from the start, but it has been a good recovery drive from Pelshot after his little oopsie into turn 1. Aiden Young versus Dave Menino. That's pretty spicy. Not teammates at all. Young for Fiercely Forward. Menino for SRT. Cadillac versus Cadillac. Could go anyone's way.
Yeah, it certainly could. Young's having a good day here, up 4 positions. Now, granted, quite a few of that is because of the incident that we saw with the Precision Racing Esports team up at the front, but nevertheless, he's been able to keep it on the road, and he is tied for your biggest mover in the GTP field. Looks like here, though, Dave Menino's lost a little bit of ground to him, as they are going to be coming up against Giovanni Perez D'Amico up in front of them. That's an LMP2 driver, and that is not where Aiden Young wants to catch him, coming down through the Variante Ascari.
A very bad place to catch Giovanni. Giovanni did nothing wrong, did a fine job, but that's just the reality of multi-class racing. And here comes Dave Menino to the outside. He's actually clear into the braking zone, and book Dave up into P4. Great race for him. He's really been a driver who's come to shine in these prototypes. He was looking forward to the re-addition to the prototypes in the PRL, and you can see why. He's on pole at Watkins Glen. He's had some podiums, and he's in P4 right now. One more spot, and he will be back on the podium in the number 3.
Well, and Menino is a storied name here in the Precision Racing League from way back in the day. I believe he was able to take some quite a few victories back in old times. And so good to see him back here in the prototype racing. We're happy to welcome him back in. Daniel Harris continues to lead, by the way, by about 3 seconds over Ryan O'Connor up at the front of this GTP field. There is a look at Daniel Harris. He has led since the drop of the green flag. The Fiercely Forward yellow driver just controlling the pace here. And crucially, Joey, he's been able to break the draft from Ryan O'Connor.
And this has been exactly the kind of race he needed to have. This smells like his Road Atlanta race, where he got his one and only win this season. You can see on the marching ants on the bottom of your screen, though, he will start to catch some traffic here. And this is where things could start to go wrong for him. Remember, he had that Indianapolis race. Round 1 of this season was taken away from him after getting taken out by a bit of lap traffic. Had some trouble in many other places this season. That's why he himself is out of the Drivers' Championship. He still wants to score every point for Fiercely Forward in the Team's Championship, though. And he's going to have to be careful when he comes up on the Whataback drivers doing civil war on each other through Parabolica.
Oh, a little bit of contact there in between Mark Kalin, and I believe that was Eric Harmon as they came down through the corner, and the worst for wear of that was going to be Harmon, but it looks like here that is going to be Daniel Harris as well as Ryan O'Connor taking an early pit stop, coming down into pit lane saying, I don't want to deal with this traffic.
That's exactly why they came down early. It's only 17 minutes into the race, but you can make it to the end now, and you won't have to deal with that LMP2 traffic until much later, while the guys who stayed out, Colin Hopkins, Menino, Young, Williams, they're all going to catch that LMP2 traffic before too long. It's going to take them a little while longer. They were 5 or 6 seconds behind Harris, but they may run into that traffic as Jerome Bertiome, speaking of traffic, him and Chip Michaels may have gotten into a little bit of an argument through the Lesmo, and Michaels has come off the worst from it.
Yeah, certainly has there. It's always a little bit of a difficult proposition to try to make a pass down into Lesmo 1. Even harder to make it down into Lesmo 2. We'll see if we can spool up the replay machine here and find out exactly what happened in between those two drivers as here they come down to the corner. That looked like a little bit of net code. Unfortunately, I definitely saw some air in between those two machines, but contact made nonetheless.
Yeah, the Italian air is crisp and beautiful, but it did come between those two cars. I don't think either of them could really do anything there. That was just unlucky. Two cars getting locked together. And poor old Chip Michaels is not going to be very happy. Jerome's not going to be happy either, because they were having a good battle between them two. And now Jerome's going to be very, very lonely down there in P6. But look at this, Hedgecox and Lehman, they've both lost Chinsky entirely, and they're too busy trying to battle for second to think about him as he pulls away.
Yeah, starts to pull away there a little bit, and that's Jeremy Carter also in this conversation as well. Now Carter's going to be able to get the run here on Hedgecox, or on Lehman, it looks like, as they come down through the Curva Grande. Let's see what they're able to do here at this point. Looking down to the outside is going to be Carter, but he's not going to be able to get it done. He'll stick it back in line.
Jeremy's another driver who's had some heartbreak this season. Started on pole at Le Mans a couple of weeks ago and lost the race after not getting enough fuel in the tank with a confusing finish. He's been very fast these last couple rounds, though. Don't be surprised to see him win a race before the end of the season. I do notice on the side of that car, by the way, Benke Media. He is teammates at Vision 1 with Damian Benke, and I want to know what kind of media that guy's making, and can we organize him to make some media for RaceSpotTV, depending on what it is.
Sorry, I had to sneeze there. That was the stop
that was
of
your
the commentary.
media.
That was my media, is making sneezes. But here at this point, it does look like Jeremy Carter's lost a little bit of position here as they run down through the corner. Nick Gowen trying to be able to catch up behind, but he's about 3 seconds behind. It looks like the majority of the GTP field, by the way, opting not to take that pit stop strategy. They're going to stay out here at this point and slice their way through the LMP2 field. We're going to have to see how that plays out a little bit later.
I did just research, by the way. Benke Media appears to be Damian Benke's photography exploits. He goes to Road America, takes some pictures. Might be in contest with our old buddy Mr. Hedge if he does that here, but the more the merrier. More photographs, the better, and we'll get him a promo at the very least.
We will indeed, as here comes a little bit more action. Roy and Ziti trying to fight it out a little bit. That's going to be Blake Ziti denied the opportunity as Darian Roy. This is for 22nd overall, and now we've got some more pitters in the GTP field as Dave Menino and J.R. Williams come down into pit lane.
And it's basically everybody now. Zach Hebert still staying out. Jeff Evans, always the contrarian, staying out as well. I think Nick Silver's going to go around one more time too. This is basically just time for them to get a little bit of the spotlight. They're out of traffic. They're just running qualifying lap times right now. And this is just an opportunity to extend that fuel as much as possible and maybe think about getting a couple spots in their inter-team battles. Because Jeff knows he's not going to be fighting for the win in this Acura. He knows he's fighting for 7th in this race, but staying out, getting out of traffic, that may be the ticket to getting 7th and maximizing his position at least.
Taking a look here. Oh, no, our producer in our ear there, Dustin, was talking that Michael Diaz's pit stop was about 10 seconds shorter than everybody else's. I think the reason for that here, Joey, is because he pit on lap number 1, and that means he was not able to fill the fuel tank full up to the brim, and probably maybe just a little bit of damage repair coming in on that lap. So even though Diaz is up here into P8 at the moment, he still owes us a pit stop.
Yeah, my question is going to be, though, can he make it to the end? Because I believe he came in on lap 2, technically. So if he can make it about 41 minutes, he might be good. But this is side-by-side for P5, or for P4, rather, again. Jeremy Carter up into P3, actually. One more position, even better. It just gets better with every word.
Yeah, Carter doing a great job here, up 4 on the day. So a good run for him as he's now doesn't have that far to go to close down on Jack Hedgecox. The gap's only about 1.8 seconds. Zach Hebert coming down into pit lane from the GTP category, meaning that only 3 drivers will be out in that GTP class and staying out, and that'll be Jeff Evans, Nick Silver, and Nicholas Schwartz.
You can see 5th and 6th on the ticker right now. Now 4th and 5th. Daniel Harris still maintaining a 4-second lead over Ryan O'Connor. It's all gone Harris's way. He hasn't lost anything. No surprise there. He's back in total control, and it's going to be a little bit of a track day for him, assuming he doesn't get into trouble in the lap traffic. They're all coming soon, though, and this is a battle for position. Hopkins and Diaz. Diaz is up into the overall podium now, against all odds.
That's an impressive run here for Diaz to be able to do that, but remember, Diaz still owes us a pit stop, so he's probably going to fall back down through the order, but this is really, I think, a statement of what could have been here for Michael Diaz as he continues to climb up through the field. 3 seconds to go up to Ryan O'Connor. Had he not had that incident at the beginning of the race, got turned around by his own teammates, he would have no doubt been challenging Jeff Evans, he no doubt would have been challenging Daniel Harris for the lead of this race.
Yeah, he's gonna be kicking himself right now because he's kind of out of it in the Drivers' Championship. He's not entirely out of it, but he's 32 points behind Colin Hopkins right now. He shouldn't be that far behind. He did get disqualified in round 4, and you're not allowed to drop around where you got disqualified, so he's already been fighting back from that L all season long. He is ahead of Hopkins right now, though, so that'll bring down the gap a couple of points. He'll bring down the gap to Menino. He's ahead of him. He'll bring down the gap to Pelsha. He's ahead of him. Diaz really wants every position he can get, though, to just keep that dream barely alive with only 2 rounds to go. It's going to be tough.
And now it's going to be Jeff Evans coming down into pit lane. Caleb Lehman, I think, may have had an off coming down into De La Roggia here at this point, as we got a little bit scruffy with some lap traffic coming on through.
There's Bradley Holly coming through in the Acura GTP, and that allows Jeremy Carter to just hang on to 3rd and stay in comfortable town for at least the moment. Look at Nicholas Goen, 3rd in line there. He was fighting with these guys a couple of minutes ago, kind of lost touch with them with some bad laps and some bad luck with some traffic coming through, but he's back in contention. He might be in contention for the podium. Here's what happened to Alexander Good, though, into the chicane, and just missed it. Kept going, but totally missed it.
Yeah, and that can happen. You can sometimes be coming down into that corner and just get onto the binders where exactly you think it's going to be, and for whatever reason, the track temperature shifts a little bit, so your brakes are a little bit cooler than you thought. You'll throw it right around. Here's Aiden Young and Dave Menino. Menino charging up behind Aiden Young here at this point. Menino all the way down in 8th place right now, down 1 from his starting position, but he'd sorely like to gain 1 more.
I believe he was ahead of Aiden Young a couple of laps ago. It's just not gone his way in the pit cycle, but he has that Cadillac straight line speed again, and I think I meant to know how this one's going to go into Ascari. Almost clear of him already in the braking zone. Doesn't get it slowed down enough, though, and Young hangs on through the corner. A little bit more downforce on that fiercely forward car helps him to hang on through the chicane. He's going to be suffering, though, through this straight and down the front straight, because Menino is all over the back of him. He's going to look again.
He's going to look around the outside here of the Parabolica, trying to carry more speed. Menino's not going to be able to get the job done originally. He's going to maybe pick up an off track here. No, barely keeps it within lines as they now fly down the front straightaway. Probably that outside line's going to help out Menino and the Cadillac just a little bit more. Cadillac versus Cadillac here as they fly down the main straightaway, and it looks like Menino's got it done.
Look at how fast Menino is in a straight line. That thing has the downforce of a banana. It's just cutting through the air. There's no trouble whatsoever. And he's pulled almost a second already just in a straight line. That is an extremely fast car in a straight line.
So Banana's super aero slippy, is that what I'm hearing? Is that
apparently.
Is that the new term? Okay, cool. Good to know.
I'll break out the wind tunnel. I'll bring a banana tomorrow.
All right, fantastic. I cannot wait the results of this research. But yeah, great move there by Dave Menino. Let's also maybe give a little bit of love right ahead of this battle. Whoa, as they try to sort themselves out there. Let's keep our eyes here as they're still trying to sort themselves out a little bit. Menino trying to get ahead as much as possible. As whoa, slipping and sliding there are the machines as they run.
See how fast Hebert can be in a straight line, because that may disprove my hypothesis. Maybe Menino isn't the banana. Maybe Aiden Young is just the unaerodynamic orange or something, and he's just dropping like a rock while everybody else is kind of going normal speed. We'll really get an answer to that here. Down this straight, Hebert just kind of staying where he is. I think once we get to the front straight and we start to see that gap come down, we might get our answer, but it is an open setup series, so there are differences in setup, even in drivers who are both in Cadillacs. You may go for a higher downforce setup to help yourself through the middle of the track, help you through the high-speed chicanes, or you might go for the low downforce setup to help you through all these straights, go as fast as humanly possible. It's Monza. It's a game of difficult setups, but there they go.
That is up in front. That is Melchad and Hopkins getting into the side of one another. Neither one wanted to give space coming down into turn one, and they both went off.
That's one extra spot for Michael Diaz ahead of his championship rival Hopkins. Let's see if Colin can repay the favor into the De La Roggia chicane. Can he go back at Pelsha? He can't. Too far back. Has to slot back in line. Gonna have to wait for a replay to see whose fault that was. Here's your answer. Hopkins on the inside, Pelsha on the outside. Colin tries to get it slowed down. Locks it up, though, and just sends Pelsha off the road and himself.
Yeah, and it looked like there that I've got to say that was a little bit of a move by Colin Hopkins back onto the racing line. You saw him dipping down below that pit entry line, and I think he came up, and there may have been a little bit of contact in between the two. All right, we've got our first taker here down in the LMP2 field, as well as Jack Hedgecox has dived down into pit lane.
Yeah, the LMP2 fuel tanks have been comparatively big all season long. They can wait a little while longer to go for that stop, and it opens the pit window a little bit. Hedgecox sees that there's some traffic interaction starting to happen, I think. Wants to get out of the fight with Carter and Lehman and Goen as well. He's just deciding to go off strategy. This battle still has been kicking off all race long between ZD and Darian Roy. They've just been stuck together for the first 30 minutes of this race. They refuse to stop doing battle. I'm sure it's frustrating for them because they're only losing time, but it's very exciting stuff because neither of them seems to want to hold on to 7th place.
No, they just keep swapping and swapping here at this point, as ZD is the one leading at the moment, but look at that closing speed coming through Della Roggia for Darian Roy. Great stuff there for him. He's going to bring that gap down under 0.5 of a second as they fly through Lesmo 1 and 2. Now up ahead of them here at this point, that is going to be Alexander Good. Now that is not a car on the lead lap. He is a lap down, but very intelligently there, ZD. You can see Roy trying to kind of get out of there, Good trying to get out of the way a little bit. ZD says, no, I want you there. I want that draft.
He's trying to steal the draft, but he's got to be careful not to get held up here. Good, I think, nursing some damage and just not quite as fast as these guys in race pace. It's all worked out, though, because ZD didn't get held up at all, caught him at just the right opportunity, and if he can get to the outside into the Parabolica here, or to the inside, rather, he may have a chance to not get held up whatsoever. Good's not going to pull over just yet, though. He's still got enough of a buffer to be relevant. ZD's going to duck down to the inside, though, maybe showing Darian Roy that he's going to come down pit lane. Yes, he does.
All right, so we've got another taker here. Nick Cowan also coming down into the pits, so that's going to be about 4 drivers. Chris Rebell, the other one who has come down into the pits here from the LMP2 category. So we are in the midst of those LMP2 pit cycles. And now here, I've got to think if you're Darian Roy, he wants to be in a big hurry to try to get by Alexander Good. We focus back on that battle, Aiden Young, and whoa, that was Zach Hebert going very, very wide around the outside.
Michael Diaz in GTP has had to pit again. That short pit stop at the start of the race, I don't think that was enough fuel to make it to the end. It's either that or he's getting a drive-through, but he's just stopped in his box. I think I just saw that at the top of my screen. Michael Diaz's race has all come undone already. Yep, he is in the box. He is getting a splash of fuel to make it to the end. It was a great drive forward, back up onto the podium after getting taken out on lap 1, but he's going to get no solace anymore. He is going all the way to the back of the GTP field.
Yeah, he's going to go all the way to the back here at this point, unfortunately, here for him. But as we focus on this battle, Aiden Young trying to hold off a little bit. We're going to jump you around here a little bit more. This is the battle for 13th. Chase Kaufman and Kyle Streikarts, they were bump drafting coming down the back straightaway.
Well, how about that? Kyle Streikarts' his only NASCAR win in the PRL was at Talladega in the trucks, so he's got some good bump drafting experience. I didn't expect that to apply to LMP2s at Monza, but he's always surprised me.
Yeah, always surprised me a little bit as well sometimes, but Kyle doing a good job just trying to be able to keep everything that he can do here at this point. Here they run down into the battle for P6. Once again, Young, Hebert, and J.R. Williams almost on top of each other here as they run through the corners.
This is aggression central right here. Not every spot for position. That's Jack Hedgecox and LMP2. They just got by. But Hebert and Young, this is that battle I wanted to circle because that's going to tell us the difference in straight line speeds. Hebert, terrible exit out of the Parabolica, but onto the front straight here. Young has been a little bit of a rock in a straight line, and look at that number on the bottom of your screen, 0.4. Down to 0.3. Young is not good in a straight line. Hebert is all over the back of him. Not going to be close enough to send a dive into turn 1, but when you're that slow in a straight line at Monza, it's only a matter of time when you've got people behind you that you're going to have them in front of you before too long.
Yeah, most certainly. He's just not getting the bite off the corner here that I think he'd really like to have as they now fly their way through the Curva Grande, and J.R. Williams all over the back of that machine. He's going to take a look to the inside. He thought about backing out of it, but he's not going to back out of it. Side by side coming down into Della Roggia, and the BMW is up 1 position into 7th.
Good stuff from JR there. The only BMW in the field, but one of the highest promoters of prototypes returning to the PRL. He's been working on this for seasons and seasons, and he's very happy that we finally have a top-level prototype series in the PRL again. But we got to give a shout out to Joshua Chinsky again as well, who we see right ahead of those two guys on track. 5 seconds in the lead. I mentioned he was feeling the pressure from his teammate and some others behind him. He may be feeling those first win jitters. He's got no first win jitters anymore. He's got a tenth of a track between him, but there goes Good.
Oh, was that contact from behind, or was that a little bit of wheel spin coming off of the Variante Ascari? One way or the other, it looks like that number 65 is going to be able to get itself turned around. Hopefully no damage there to the back of the car. I think he was able to stop it there on that little bit of paved runoff.
Yeah, he's done an Alexander good job of looking at the relative and not getting into trouble with anybody, so well done there at least. I think that was just an overcorrection on exit, though, that spat him back out of the wall. Here comes Hebert, though, back to repay the favor in that Cadillac. I'm going to repeat it for the 50th time. I need a race spot soundboard, but the Cadillac is fast in a straight line. Not able to clear Williams, but around the outside, he's going to have the run on the straight, and Hebert is going to be back ahead of JR. But they're only losing time to Aiden as they battle like this.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I've got to give credit there to J.R. Williams. That BMW, very, very tricky to try to control under heavy braking and slow-speed corners. If you try to trail brake at all with that car, it really doesn't like it. You've got to really just trust the car and get it fully slowed down going into the braking zone and then do your movement. If you try to trail brake at all, the front tires just bite and lock up in kind of an awkward fashion. So JR clearly a comfortable feels with that car and able to position it very, very well.
Yeah, that's why I'm not driving in this series. That's why I don't pick up the prototypes on iRacing anymore, because the brakes are so finicky. It's so difficult, especially when you're in a side-by-side battle like this and you need to be in full precision to get things slowed down. It's just, the second you get a little bit overeager and you lock those rear brakes, it's all over. So that's why I'm in the booth, TJ. That's why I'm happy to be watching these guys do an LMP2 warfare instead of spinning and getting disqualified.
Try the Porsche. The Porsche's brakes, I think, are the easiest to get a handle on, at least in my experience. But nevertheless, we're not going to talk about our own driving exploits. We're going to talk about the battle that we've got going on track right now. This is the battle for 12th in LMP2 with Kaufman and Strichards. We followed this a couple of times. They're still on top of each other here as they let a couple of drivers on by.
That was Michael Diaz coming through. Just his pain continues. Hebert's pain continues. That was a huge lockup into turn one. So lucky not to get into the back of Aiden Young. And now he's got to go through the F1 styrofoam chicane and lose all that time. And he's out of the battle for P6.
Yeah, he is effectively out of it here at this point. He's going to fall all the way back about 3 seconds behind J.R. Williams at the moment. And I think that was just a good case of putting pressure in the rearview mirror and causing him to break himself a little bit. There you see him coming down into the corner, tried to take that look down to the inside. Combination of pressure from behind and pressure from in front, and 1, 2, 3, he locks it up.
And Williams actually got into the back of him a little bit, so I hope neither of them got damaged from that. I don't think they did. They were separated by a couple inches of air, but it is possible. That is a shame for our old buddy Zach. Him and Echelon Sim Sport, they've been very, very eager to join the PRL this season. They've had some solid races. He's had a lot of speed. I believe he was on the podium earlier this season, but it's just not gone their way in total. But I think we'll see him and the team back full-time next season as we ride on board with Williams in that incident. Did he get damage? His momentum didn't stop, so I don't think he did get any damage from that. It didn't even look like there was any real contact.
No, I think he was able to avoid that one relatively scot-free, so he'll be relatively okay with that. Interesting, by the way, that I will tell you, Michael Diaz here has the fastest lap of the race with a 1:33.37. Just shows you once again what could have been for that number 17 machine. But we've got a good battle here farther back down in the field. This is for 8th in the LMP2 category. Rebel, Ziti, and Roy now all on top of each other.
Blake looking, not going to be able to do it. This is a very confusing battle because it's 3 different teams. It's Bowie for Chris Rabel, it's SRT for Blake Ziti, and it's Precision Racing Esports for Darian Roy. They're all in predominantly white cars, and they're all separated by inches on the screen. This is a commentator's nightmare right here down the front straight.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's like Formula One a couple of years ago when everybody decided to go with the gunmetal coloring. As they come down into the braking zone here at this point, one of the Acuras in front of them. That's going to slow them down a little bit here at this point. I believe that is going to be Nicholas Schwartz up ahead of him.
Yeah, that was Darian Roy as well. I think he got into the back of Blake Ziti coming into the first turn. It was almost a little bit of a Gauss gun with them getting into the back of Chris Rabel as well. Chris is perfectly safe now. He's got a second gap over those two, because they just tripped over each other a little bit into turn one. And that's another thing about this open setup series. When you've got different downforce levels, when you've got different braking distances, if you're going into turn 1 where it's the biggest speed change of anywhere on the track from such high speeds to such low speeds, the braking distances are different. You've got to take advantage of that you got to pay attention to that, or else you're going to do exactly what they did and get into the back of the car in front of you.
Yeah, and now they've got a little bit something else to worry about. That's the number 17 of Michael Diaz that's going to sweep around the outside. He thought about going around the outside. Now he's going to have to go down to the inside here as the LMP2s try to get out of the way there for him, and this battle continues on. And that is so difficult as a GTP driver, being cognizant that there's a battle in front of you. As here, swapping positions right now, Aiden Young and J.R. Williams still going at it.
We've got Giovanni Perez D'Amico right ahead, who's going to get out of the way, but they're going to be 3 wide for just a moment, which is always scary. And now it's the battle of the BMW, not the fastest car in the field in a straight line, versus Aiden Young in a Cadillac, who seems to be in the slowest Cadillac in the world. That seems to be dead even. And into the braking zone. It's going to be later for Aiden Young, but that is so late in the brakes that he's going to San Marino, and Williams misses the corner as well. It's Monza with no chicanes now.
And now it's a battle of who can bleed off speed the most time, and that's music to the eyes there of Zach Hebert, who's now going to be in the position to be able to close back in on the back of him. He's going to be able to pick up the draft, and this battle's right back on again.
It is right back onto him. I'm not going to let you get away with that, DJ, though. You did say music to the eyes of Zach Hebert. I love a mixed metaphor. I love it.
No, it's a reference.
Music to the eyes.
Music to my eyes, Lady Gaga.
Oh, okay, so
you
you're galaxy brain ahead of me now.
There you go, my friend. Here's an issue, though, going down into turn 1. Oh, little bit of a coming together and some consternation down into Rettifilio there, unfortunately. That was Ziti and Roy you saw getting into one another.
Oh, side by side to the Parabolica. It's just such dicey stuff. And these guys are Zach Hebert's best friends right now. He's going to be looking forward, because he's the fastest driver of any of these 3 in a straight line. He lost all his time in a huge lockup, and now he's making all of it back up into turn 1. He might still be in the conversation for P6. It's going to be too far back to go for it this time, but he is there. It's just a refresh of that previous battle, and he's to the inside of JR now. Zach Hebert's coming.
Hebert is coming, and you saw what JR was trying to do, really back up that corner and get the good run off of turn 2, but it didn't work out. We now right on board the nose here of Zach Hebert, trying to see what he is able to do in that Cadillac, the Echelon Simsport driver, as that is going to be them trying to take a look down to the inside, not able to make it work, as here they're right back into it again, as that's going to be J.R. Williams holding on to the position for now.
I love that pose in the Zach Hebert picture. He's commandeering over us. I feel like I'm on the floor and he's looking down on me. He's doing the I had to do it to him pose, but it's symbolic because he is really imposing. He is very fast in a straight line. He's not going to be fast enough to go for the move this time, but he's putting the pressure on. He's there. He's going to continue doing that, and I hope he keeps the pose up.
I certainly hope he does as well, and that this action continues on here, because it's pretty fantastic from what we can see. Great run there off of Ascari, though it has to be said for Aiden Young. He's going to be able to carry some good speed down the straightaway into Curva Parabolica, and I think that's going to put this battle on hold for the moment. That looked like a little bit of a wide run from Hebert, just running a little bit wide on the entrance of Parabolica, but he's still able to carry good speed in that Cadillac, and now is it going to be J.R. Williams under pressure?
Here we go. 3 minutes to go. We're in the dying moments of this race. Nothing's going to change this time, though. Still just, well, actually, I may be surprised. I may be surprised by J.R. Williams. It's a lockup fest again. And the driver who I least expected to lock it up there, Zach Hebert, says, guys, I want to join the party too, and I'm going to lose the gap here. I'm going to separate this out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that little bit of an alternate line there for Williams probably just put Hebert into an awkward position, didn't know how to handle it, and locked those front brakes up. So now this comes back down to a 2-car battle between Aiden Young and J.R. Williams. Oh, no, and they both spin!
They both spin on the exit. Zach Hebert gets paid for mediocrity, makes the mistake, stays out of trouble, and maybe it was a deliberate mistake to open the door for that, because that is just so unfortunate for those two, but it was only a matter of time that happened, and Bradley Holly right behind them says, thank you very much, make another mistake, I want to take that spot back.
Yeah, certainly does, so they're going to keep on going. We also focus in on this battle for P9 in the LMP2 category. Roy leads ZD, leads Michaels, with only a couple of laps to go here at this point. I think 2 to go as Daniel Harris crosses the line.
Those final couple of miles here. These guys are lower in the top 10 than they really should be. I think they were fighting for 7th and 8th. They've just run into a little bit of trouble in the last couple laps that we didn't see. And they've got Chip Michaels behind him, who was fighting for P6 at the start of the race. If you remember when he got interlocked with Jerome Bertiome, he should not be here. Here's a replay of what happened between Williams and Young, though. And that was just a huge difference of speed. Young got a bad exit. Williams had an incredible exit. And at the end of it, both of them had the worst exit possible.
Yeah, just a little bit of a disagreement on where they wanted to be on the track here at this point, and that's exactly what happened to them. As we keep focused on this battle back down 4-9th in the LMP2 category, trying to figure out where they are going to sort themselves out. Wide run there for Blake's Edie and hard into the wall.
And that is the end of Baked Ziti's race. Right, just total destruction. And that's it. That's over. So unfortunate. It was doing such a great job. It was giving us so much action and ends up giving us the biggest action of all. But that's such a Monza thing. Low downforce, you make a little mistake, you make a little overcorrection, and there's no saving it, especially with the walls as close as they are. Here it is. Actually clips the gravel as well, and that just makes matters so much worse.
Yeah, really and truly does. You get out onto that gravel, you lose all sense of traction, you try to get the car back underneath you, and it's just not going to happen whatsoever. But this battle now still going on here at this point as your leader takes the white flag. 1 lap to go from Monza.
Last lap, it's going to be comfortable for both of our leaders. Against all odds, with the total chaos in the middle of the field, and GTP at the start of the race, and LMP2 as the race has gone on. Those two guys have just been totally dominant. Daniel Harris has had such bad luck this season, some of it of his own doing, but he's finally going to get that second win. It should really be his 3rd win. He chose to give his 2nd win to his teammate at Le Mans a couple of weeks ago, but he's got a couple more corners, and he'll finally get win number 2 in a season where he's been easily the fastest driver in total.
Yeah, certainly has. Has a little bit of traffic to deal with here at this point, but he's still working his way through. We keep our eyes on this battle as Michael's coming up behind Darian Roy, pokes his nose to what would be the outside of Ascari. Roy's going to hold down to the inside here at this point, taking a defensive line, now shifts back over to the traditional racing line as they come on through, and that looks like a compromised line there for Chip Michaels as they come through the corner. That's going to cost him.
That's going to be it for this battle. They're going to get one more chance down the front straight, but if Chip Michaels can't make it work there, he's run out of time. Daniel Harris still out there on track. He's got the longest white flag lap of anybody. I think these guys are actually going to go around one more time, because here's Daniel Harris behind them with only one more corner to go.
Harris has done a fantastic job, stayed out of trouble, and has led pretty much flag to flag for this entire race as Daniel Harris comes out of the Parabolica for the final time to take his first victory of the season. It is Daniel Harris in the 122 that takes victory at the Temple of Speed.
Road Atlanta and Monza, 2 big places to get a win and 2 similarly dominant margins. Ryan O'Connor's in trouble, though, for second. I think he might be out of fuel. Pat Pelshaw's got past him. I think that may have been in the run to the line, though. I think that may have been a teammate helping another teammate in the championship. But Pelshaw up to P2 after some big trouble on lap 1. Here's Joshua Chinsky, though, in LMP2. Couple more corners, 6-second lead over Hedgecox. All he has to do is make it through the final corner, and he'll finally get his first win in the PRL.
Expertly nails down the run through the Variante. Ascari has a little bit of lap traffic in front of him, but I think that's the 17 there of Michael Diaz up ahead of him, so that's going to be perfectly fine for him. He comes out of Parabolica right now, and for the first time in the Precision Racing League GTP-LMP2 series, it is Joshua Chinsky with the win.
Well done, Joshua. He's been fast this season, was fast last season in GT4 as well, but now he finally gets to join Joshua Chin on the list of PRL winners. That's not going to be confusing at all. Both Joshua Chin and Joshua Chinsky are PRL winners. Chip Michaels here picking up the last couple pieces. Not going to pick up one more piece to the back of Darian Roy, though. That's going to be these guys, but it's going to be a photo finish between them and Rabel to the line. I think Chris might be out of fuel. He's going to lose both of those spots to the line.
Yes, he is crossing over the line. It's Roy, Rabel, Michaels, 20th, 21st, and 22nd overall. Well, folks, that ends a thrilling race here at Monza. Let's go ahead and bring you into our final finishing order here because it was an absolute scorcher of a race, as Daniel Harris was able to take victory over Pat Pelshaw and then Ryan O'Connor rounding out your all-Cadillac podium. Colin Hopkins was fourth, followed by Dave Menino, who had a good drive through the field. Zach Hebert up 6 spots for Echelon Sim Sports. Then the first non-Cadillac in J.R. Williams, and then Jeff Evans for Waterback Racing Overdrive. A quiet race there for Jeff, but a good top 10. Nick Silver was 9th, and Michael Diaz on a good recovery there after that first lap incident comes home in 10. Nicholas Schwartz was 11th, and then Bradley Holly, your first car, a lap down. Aiden Young, 2 laps down. And Boris Ovando, a DNF here today. Let's bring you back into the LMP2 category, as it was Josh Wachinski taking his first victory of the year over Jack Hedgecox and Jeremy Carter. Caleb Limon was able to hold on to P4, followed by Nicholas Gowan. Then Jerome Bertillon with a solid drive out there today in P6. Damian Benke was 7th, followed by Darian Roy. Chris Rabel, who ran out of fuel, we think, at the end. Chip Michaels in P10. Moving back down into P11, it was Kyle Stritcharts, a lap down, followed by Chase Kaufman, Mark Kalin, Giovanni Perez D'Amico, the last driver to finish 1 lap down. Then it was Blake Ziti who got into that accident with 2 laps to go. Alexander Good, Ryan Chandler, Eric Harmon, Brian Hoskins, Doug Sorrento rounding out your field. Well, folks, that's going to bring us right on into podium interviews. And first and foremost, let's talk to your victor, Daniel Harris. And Daniel, you controlled this race from the drop of the green flag. Your closest rivals kind of got into one another, and you just got to skate off into the distance.
Yeah, I was just watching that back and laughing a little bit. I'm sure you guys saw it on stream, how in unison that spin was from all 3 of them. All credit to Pat, though. That was one hell of a recovery drive. Ryan, of course, giving him the position as I thought he would. Yeah, it was a good race. I just was kind of having a bit of a Sunday drive once that happened and just wanted to pull away. Did it under-fueled at the stop. Stopped a lap early, which was annoying, so I had to fuel save for probably about half of the race after I pit, and then was just gassing it.
Well, how does that change your mentality here when you get into a position like that where you don't really have to be worrying about anybody behind you? Does complacency creep in, or are you able to stay on top of it?
I definitely think a little bit of complacency sets in. Like, you can definitely do a couple of slower laps than it does. Sometimes you do have to snap yourself back into that mindset of, oh, actually, I'm in a race and not a practice session. But I feel like I've done quite a bit of racing that I can kind of snap myself back into it pretty quickly.
Well, you certainly did snap yourself into a great position here tonight. Can we see maybe a repeat in, well, America's National Park of Speed in the form of Road America next time out?
Oh, for sure. I've got quite a bit of pace there.
Well, fantastic, my friend. We look forward to seeing you. Congratulations again. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Daniel Harris. You were victor in the GTP category. And Joey, we've got a whole fleet of drivers ready to talk to you. Who do you have up here in the booth?
I think we'll talk to another winner first and foremost, because finally, for the first time in the PRL, I get to talk to you, Joshua Chinsky, as a race winner. How good does that feel to finally get that first win in the books?
Oh my gosh, it feels incredible, especially to do it at such a historic track like Monza, the Temple of Speed.
You had your teammate Caleb behind you putting on the pressure for that first stint. Seemed to be less pressureful at the end of the race, though, but how was it in position to get your first win? How much pressure were you feeling all race long?
So obviously being the first time in the position to be able to win a race, there's a whole bunch of pressure. But in regards to Caleb, he and I, thankfully, were in our team chat, and he was just saying, go, let's just try and break the slipstream from Jack. And so he wasn't really attacking me for the first start, and I was incredibly appreciative of that. It made it so much easier to hit my marks in the first stint, and then we just agreed, hey, second stint after the pits, what will be, what will be.
Well, Mr. Chinsky, congrats on getting that first win. I'm sure it'll be the first of many. We'll see you next week. See if you can go for number 2.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Joshua Chinsky, victor in the PRL for the first time. But I think next up, we'll grab a chat with a guy who was right in the middle of that cloud of accidents into turn 1. Second place in GTP, Pat Pelshaz with DJ.
He is indeed, Pat, and I want to take you back here to the beginning of the race, maybe a little bit of a sore spot, but talk me through what happened at the downbeat here.
I think I was mostly looking to the left because I saw Colin trying to go the outside, and I totally lost just the position that I was to my teammate ahead, and I was a bit too close coming down the braking zone, and I hit him, and he spun and hit Boris. I really want to take a second to apologize to both of them. That's only on me, but yeah, that's what happened basically.
Well, as they say, racing incidents do happen, and I'm sure you guys will be able to sort that back out. But let's focus on the good here. I mean, this was an incredible drive back up through the field. Talk me through that charge back up here into P2.
Yeah, well, let's say P3 because I think my teammate here really gave me that P2 at the end for the points. But yeah, I think Michael and Boris worked their butts off to make a crazy good setup this week. And to be honest, I did not practice that much, so the car was just amazing. It was on rails, and I think that's really what got me the ability to go back to the field and get onto a podium. So I'm very, very happy and got to thank my teammates for that.
Well, I've got to imagine if you've got a killer setup here at Monza, that'll probably carry in next week to Road America, I have to imagine. Are we looking for another good result there?
Yeah, we'll do our best. We'll do our best. I think, yeah, I think the championship is going to be hard to get, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, my friend, we wish you all the luck in the world when we get there, and we'll see you in Wisconsin.
Thank you.
All right, Joey, that was Pat Pelchat, your second here in the GTP class.
I think we'll get a chat with one more driver. Quick chat with who else but Mr. Ryan O'Connor, who did get some thanks from Pat Pelchat at the end. Did you let your teammate by, or were you running out of fuel to give him that position?
Oh, I didn't have enough left. Pat and I did the same fuel strategy, and with about 2 laps left, he was like, yeah, we're going to run out of fuel. So we had to do some heavy saving. He did a little bit more than me, so.
There we go. But another podium for you. It's got to be feeling good to be as fast as you've ever been in this series with 2 rounds to go. Do any of those tracks look spicy for your first win?
I don't know about the first win. Field's really tough. I think I say this week in, week out to you guys. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I quite have the pace, but I definitely have the pace to stay in the mix on podiums. Yeah, I mean, both tracks, I love them. Red Bull Ring, I'm pretty strong at. I've never driven in this car, but I'm anticipating it should be pretty decent.
Well, good luck next week, Ryan. Congrats on the podium, and we'll see you in Austria.
Thanks a lot, Joey.
Ryan O'Connor coming home on the podium yet again, having the season of his dreams so far. More podiums than he's ever had. It's good to see. It's good to talk to our whole podium as well, and it's good to know that it wasn't actually Ryan pulling over. He was running out of fuel.
Yeah, good to know that indeed. But, Joey, it does look like that's about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. As we turn our eyes to Zandvoort and Road America, what are your takeaways from what was an electric night of racing?
I mean, the best drivers were rewarded in both LMP3 and GT4 earlier tonight. Sean and Alexis ended up just totally dominantly winning in a race that could have been full of chaos in this race as well. Daniel Harris survives turn 1, easily wins as well, and I think the biggest story, LMP2, Joshua Chinsky. It's always great to see a first-time winner, especially when it's as dominant as that. I can guarantee you that's not going to be his last win.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there about that. We'll soon be calling that name once again. But, folks, that is going to about wrap up our coverage here tonight for RaceSpotTV. On behalf of the entire team, myself, Dustin, Joey, and me, DJ Clark, it's been great to be able to bring you through everything. Tune in to us next week, November 13th, as we head off to Zandvoort and Road America. But as for tonight, on behalf of all of us, it's been a pleasure to bring you the racing action here. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.